Hey, see, you did magic, you're magic. Good evening, everyone. This is Thursday, March 23rd, 2017, and this is the Board of Selectmen's meeting. First up on our agenda is a dog complaint hearing, and we have a bit of formality that we go through, so please bear with me as I probably give more information than you probably want to know, but just to keep everything up and up. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to open the meeting by reading the hearing notice, which was addressed to folks in question. The Board of Selectmen requests your presence at a hearing on Thursday, March 23rd, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Houghton Building, 697 Main Street, regarding a complaint concerning your dogs, and this is being addressed to Mrs. Nina Valdimos at 37 Annymore Road, Bolton. A copy of the complaints are enclosed. The hearing will be held pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 140, Section 157, and the Code of the Town of Bolton, Chapter 110, Animals, Section 110-3, prohibited content. This was sent out on March 8th by Don Lowe, our town administrator. And I want to confirm from our staff, notice was published, posted, and served upon the interested parties required by law. Okay.
It was mailed.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, I'm going to establish the ground rules for the hearing to everyone who is here. Testimony will be limited to the issues directly related to the subject matter of the hearing. Only one person will be permitted to speak at a time. All discussion will go through the chair, which is me. All parties will be expected to conduct themselves civilly. An argument between parties will not be permitted. The proceedings should be recorded and recording preserved or on television. Before we take any testimony, I'm going to ask that anyone who intends to testify to stand, we'll do it in a second, to stand, raise his or her right hand, and swear that the testimony I'm about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So if anyone plans on speaking, either for or against, I would like you to stand, please. And raise your right hand and repeat after me. The testimony that I am about to give in this matter is the whole truth.
The whole truth.
I'm sorry, the truth, the whole truth.
The truth, the whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. There'll be two parts to the hearing. One will be a collection of the evidence for staff, collection of evidence to the violation from the staff or complaining parties, and a collection of evidence and defense from the subject of the hearing and or supporting witnesses. And then we'll proceed, the next phase is collection of evidence from the applicant, the proponent, and those wishing to speak in favor of the applicant or the regulation, and the collection of evidence from those who are in opposition to the application or regulation. For each person who testifies, I ask that you identify yourself by saying your name and address for the record. Witnesses may be questioned by members. In adjudicated hearings, however, witnesses may first be cross-examined by a representative of the hearing target. Typically at this stage, it's an individual will get up and speak. And then when I have determined that all relevant testimony and evidence is presented, I will entertain a motion to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing. And once the vote is taken, I will declare that the evidentiary portion is closed and inform the public that deliberations will begin. And then we'll move on from there. So at this point, I think it's probably appropriate to have either yourself or Susan Layton discuss the particulars or incidents in question.
All right, Susan, would you please update the board? There she is. Update the Board of Selectmen.
There's been a spiraling increase of some problems with a particular group of dogs that live on Annymore Road. The dogs have bitten one person. They've been at large. People can't walk down the road. The list of complaints just goes on and on. The animals have been worrying people and livestock. The owner, in spite of many conversations, has not improved the conditions. The most recent one of the dogs came out over the fence that was containing him. It's only a 4-foot fence, was running around and barking and growling at somebody that was walking down the street. You have a police report for that incident, as well as I think the victim's statement. And it's not been resolved, and it's getting worse, not better. And it's at the point, I think, where the town needs to step in and make some decisions for some folks that don't seem to be able to make good decisions themselves.
And Susan, you mentioned that someone was bitten.
Yes.
Were one or more individuals bitten on one or more occasions?
There was one gentleman that lives sort of across the street that has said that he had 2 bites in one day. Unfortunately, that wasn't reported. I found out sort of in a very oblique way. And Phyllis Tower, who went to do the quarantine of the dogs, the bite was already like 2 or 3 weeks old. So at that point, it was kind of old news. But that is, as far as I know, the only time that one or more of these dogs has actually bitten a person.
And you have no other record?
Of those dogs biting somebody? No, I have not. No other record.
And perhaps maybe for the audience, can you enlighten everyone what the sort of rules are for an animal such as a dog that is on someone's property, an owner, and what their responsibilities are? And could you also inform the audience when should a dog be left unattended, or if a dog is walking with its owner outside of the property, what are the ground rules, so to speak, in terms of maintaining and containing that animal?
Sure. Well, Bolton doesn't have a leash law. The L word isn't there, but it does say that your dog has to be under your control, which means it can't be, around the corner and down the bend doing something, and you're happily walking along. The dog has to really be with you, and so that you can control it. Again, there's no leash law, but the animal control law is pretty clear that there has to be contact between owner and dog, and that's any time that the dog is off your own property. Makes no difference whether it's conservation land or your neighbors. That's the rule, so that you can control that dog. So if somebody comes walking along the other direction, that you can call the dog back to stay with you.
Okay.
Is that?
Yes, no, thank you, I appreciate that. And I just want to read for everyone in the Massachusetts Animal Fund Animal Control Officer Training Institute Animal Laws and Regulations in Massachusetts, their definition of what a dangerous dog is, so we just understand what that is. A dangerous dog is a dog that either A, without justification attacks a person or a domestic animal causing physical injury or death, or B, behaves in a manner that a reasonable person would believe poses an unjustified imminent threat of physical injury or death to a person or to a domestic animal, domestic or more animal. So, a dangerous dog doesn't necessarily mean a dog that actually physically bites someone, but potentially threatens someone. But I just want to make clear, is there anything else as far as from the staff that we need to have presented? But I think it's, what Phyllis has presented is sufficient. Or is there anything else that Phyllis would like to present?
Chief Nelson, is there anything that you would like to present at this time?
Well, I have supplied all the police reports that we've been involved with and all the log entries. And I also spoke to John O'Loughlin personally. He called me that night, he called late, and I called him back the next morning. And he explained to me how the dogs attacked his livestock. And I think his letter is in here too.
Yes. Just so you know, the selectmen do have a copy of information that Susan Latham has provided, our animal control officer, as well as any actual complaints that were lodged either to wherever you like. If you'd like to stand up, sure, that's fine.
So, my name is Petros Kotidis, and I'm my wife. First of all, thank you for having this, because we feel that we just came to the town. We moved to the town 6 months ago. And just to give you a little background for us, my wife's a physician, I'm a CEO of the company, we have a daughter who's 17 years old, and we love dogs. So that's the bottom line. So we love the town, and we definitely have no intent of creating this big problem here. We're terribly embarrassed about this. I don't know how else to say it. And we're just trying to find a solution. So I think you have to understand that this is not something that we take the dogs out and we are putting them to bite you. This is not the intent. So this is something that happened by accident. So I want to make sure that you understand that. There's no intent in creating a friction with our neighbors. We love our neighbors. We have our open house. We've invited everybody in. We love our neighbors. And so there's no intent. So we want to make sure this is fixed. Absolutely, no question about that. And we're so embarrassed about this. I mean, I have to, to explain this to you. We don't want to create problems. We love the city. We love the town, actually, it's not the city. We love the town and we love the area. That's why we moved here. So, in terms of what happened, it's definitely an accident. So I'll give you some specifics and you can discuss this. First of all, the dogs are puppies. They're not even 9 months old. Okay? Now, they're big dogs, but they're puppies. Okay, so they're going through training right now. We're taking to professional training so that they can be, and I can give you all the documents and all that. We're going to a professional, I think it's a police training.
Absolutely canine solutions.
Yeah, absolutely canine solutions, yeah. So we're taking them to training because, again, they're puppies. And so that's one. Second, we put a 6-foot fence throughout our property. And you're right, it is 4 foot in that part of the fence, and that we will fix. This, unfortunately, we can't fix it. We just patched it now, so it's a 6-foot fence now, but we can't do it because the ground is frozen. So we have to wait until April, May. We already called the company. It's coming in, so they're going to replace the whole fence with a 6-foot fence. So there will be no chance to go out. We have I'd say about 4 acres of land. So there's plenty of land for the dogs to be in. There's no issue with that. Furthermore, the dogs will be moved a little bit further away from the street. They're not on the street, so they will not have access to that part. They will be inside towards the house, so they will not be scaring anybody. Now, as I said before, we want to work with you. That's the point. We are very embarrassed about this. We felt that we moved into this town and we wanted to be among friends. So we don't feel that this is a situation where there's no argument. We definitely want to find a solution. And again, we really apologize to our neighbors. And really, really feel bad about it. The incident with the cattle, well, again, we were trying to find out boundaries. It was 2nd month, 3rd month in the house. We didn't know what the cattle was. We took the dogs out at night, had no clue. Now we know. So that's not going to happen again. So again, Mr. Lord, who's the guy who owns the farm behind us, he knows all this, and unfortunately he's not here. I don't know why. I think he's in Florida. Yeah. So he knows all this, and we talked to him about this, and of course we don't want to do that. There's no intent to have the police coming in, our neighbors complaining and all this. Absolutely not. And again, it is something we need to fix. There's no question about that. But I want to make sure that you understand that this is not a situation where we're trying to argue with you. We're just trying to work with you, trying to find a solution. How can we make this better for everybody? That's all. So, that's all I wanted to say. If you have any questions, I can answer your questions.
I think we'll get to that moment. Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
I would like to reiterate what Petra said, that I'm very sorry. It's really my fault when they get out into the field, because I'm the one that's responsible for taking them for a walk at that time. And, you know, the reality is that we didn't know what is behind the bushes and, you know, if there are livestock. I didn't know that there are livestock there. But obviously that isn't going to happen again. They are in training. It's called Absolute Canine Solutions in Lunenburg, and the trainer is Ian Martin, and he would be more than happy to collaborate. That we've been there since January for sure, maybe late December, but definitely January. And he presumably gives a guarantee that the dogs will be trained. It's on the website, you can look him up.
And trained to do what?
To be obedient off leash. So what I would like to say is that I will accept any restrictions that you choose to place on us. We will abide by them. But if you could reconsider or revisit this at a later date when we graduate, I would appreciate it.
Anyone else wish to speak for the applicant? If not, then I guess we take testimony for...
Unless the board has any questions right now. for-
Right. Do you have any questions?
I have a few, so you're planning on putting a 6-foot fence and that the dogs could go in and out of the house and then,
Well, the dogs have a 6-foot fence
Those are already
on one
there.
side. The problem is that my mother-in-law, who lives with us, who's 86, opens the door to let them out on the other side, and that's how they got onto the 4-foot fence.
that won't happen.
Usually they are not in that area without anyone being supervised. They're usually only on the other side, which is all 6 foot.
but in the meantime, before the
They are
replacement.
not going in
That
the
door will be
4-foot
closed.
fence, but the guy's coming tomorrow to take measurements. So it's arrow fence in Marlboro.
So let me explain something. So there are two sides of the house. One side has the 6-foot fence, and it's about an acre. The other side is about 2 acres, I guess, and has a 6-foot, a 4-foot fence. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a gate in between, and it's already there. The gate will be closed. So the dogs, it's a 6-foot gate. The dogs will only be on the 6-foot side throughout the day, ever. They will never go on the other side. So that's what I'm saying. And then when the ground thaws, we'll bring the company and we'll put 6-foot fence across the whole thing.
And the fence is not there now? I mean, the gate, I'm sorry?
It is there.
It is there?
It is there, the 6-foot gate.
But it wasn't, it was
It wasn't
open?
It was,
Closed,
it
that
was
was
closed,
Is
yes.
that padlocked or
It's
something?
padlocked, yep, exactly. It will be padlocked, yep.
Can I ask you, do you think 6 feet high is sufficient in this case?
No,
You don't?
no, because if this were Florida, I would say 6 feet is fine. But we do, as we all know, this is an unusual winter, we didn't get a lot of snow. A 6-foot fence even can become a 3-foot fence if we get a couple of really good storms. So what I would recommend would, I mean, do you really want to know right now what I want to write for any
Sure.
kind of fencing? 6-foot fence with, you know, you see those in prisons, the wire that's at the top that goes in so that even if the dog tries to jump or clear, there's you know, another barrier. Also, underneath the ground, there should be about probably 2 feet worth of either chain link or some kind of some kind of fabric or something that the dog can't dig through, so that and, you know, and it's buried underground like that and comes, you know, goes into the pen area about 2 feet, so that if the dog goes up to the fence and decides it's going to try to dig out, lo and behold, it can't, because there's something there, and it can't jump out. And even when there's enough snow, there's still enough, even if it becomes a 4-foot fence, you know, there's enough because of that angle on the top that most dogs aren't smart enough to go, all right, well, if I do this and I hang on and feet and flip over, you know, they're not going to do that. So that is really the ideal kind of fencing. It really makes it virtually impossible for a dog to get out unless there's some kind of very strange circumstance.
And do you have any objections to installing that type of fence?
No, I just have a question. How long, so when I tell the guy tomorrow, how long is that angle? Because he's gonna want measurements.
You know, I don't know, I can't give you a figure. I don't know. But it, probably a good, 18 inches
Okay.
going in, maybe 2 feet. Probably 18 inches would be enough.
Okay.
Any other questions? Of the incidents that have occurred where the dogs have either gone into an adjacent field or some other field or some other person's property, are they incidents where someone has let the dogs out, not on the 6-foot fence side of the house, but the 4-foot? Because there are a lot of incidents where the dogs have.
No,
No,
that was
no,
when I
no.
was taking them for a walk in the orchards. And I'm in the middle of the orchards and they're just running around free. And the reality is that they're not right next to me. And
That's why we're going for the training.
that's why we're going for training.
Yeah. So they'll be next to us. And if they don't, they're gonna go on a leash.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I thought I read in some of the documents that the Lords had said if your dogs are gonna be in the orchard, that they have to be on leashes.
No, actually, that's not what he
I
said.
think it's exactly the opposite. That as long as they are in his property, they are free.
Okay.
He said exactly the opposite. I mean, when he talked to him, he said, as long as you're on my property, do whatever you want.
I actually spoke to him before he left about this, and I told him I would be willing to do whatever he thought was good, which, would be not taking them, or taking them only on a leash, or taking them at night, and, we
I
said
think
we would
he-
allow you to
I
decide.
think you may be referring to the thing with the cattle. I think what he said is that make sure that you don't scare the cattle. That's exactly the point.
I'm reading
We'll
from-
Make sure that you don't have.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So I'm reading from the Bolton Police Report dated Feb. 27, 2017. And Officer Puri says that Stephen told me that as of the previous night, Chuck had spoken with the Valadimoses and informed them that access to the orchard, which they abut, by the dogs would be allowed only if the dogs are on a leash. So you weren't aware of that?
That's not what he told us, but that's okay. I mean, we don't have any problem with that. I mean,
We'll
it's
do
fine.
that. We'll
Fine.
do that. We'll do
That's
whatever
fine.
you suggest.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we don't intend to cause trouble here, so if that's what you would like for us to do, we'll do that. It's fine.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can you just list all of your dogs and kind of their ages?
Sure. So we have two Bichon Shih Tzu mixes, which are very small dogs, and they are both 10 years old. Then we have the mother German Shepherd, who is 2 years old, and her name is Bella. And then we have the 3 puppies. We have 2 boys and a girl, Mason, Primus, and Lily.
So you bred her?
I bred her. We were going to keep 1 puppy, but we couldn't resist, and we kept 3.
We'll give all the other ones away, actually. We do have good families.
And that's the total amount.
Yeah.
And then somebody supplied us with photographs.
Mhm.
Is this the 6-foot fence?
Yes.
Can you just-
That's the 4-foot fence. That's the one that's going to
That's
be
the
replaced.
4-foot fence,
And
that's the 4-foot
6-foot.
fence, and that's up here, yeah.
That's the 6-foot.
So this will be replaced with.
See, I made it 6 foot now because they can't come,
Yeah, because
the ground is
the
frozen.
ground is thawed, so the ground is frozen. So.
But that's just a temporary
Yes,
addition?
yeah.
And you're gonna do,
He's
you're
coming
proposing
tomorrow.
to do,
Right.
like, replace the whole fence?
We're gonna replace the whole side that is by the street, we're going to make it a wooden fence, a stockade, so the dogs can't see out, so they can't bother people and they can't scare people.
Mhm.
And I'm very happy to put up the extra angle there on top of that. Like I said, he's coming tomorrow.
And then the trainer comes to the house, or the dogs go?
No, we
to-
go to his place until we get to level 3, and then he'll come to the house. We're still on level 2.
Thank you.
I just have one additional.
Sure.
So is the dog that, bit the gentleman, is that the Shih Tzu?
No,
Is that the older?
the dog that bit the gentleman was 4 months old at the time and didn't even have his adult teeth. That was one of the puppies. It was a puppy.
And which puppy was that?
It was Mason.
Mason?
Puppies have very sharp teeth, unfortunately, and so just by rubbing against you, it will be like a bite. So it's unfortunate. We obviously don't
But they've
don't
never
like
been
that.
out in the street since then.
We feel very bad about this.
Thank you very much.
We didn't want this to happen.
And I do have to say that he did call animal control the next day. So I don't know how there was a delay in 3 weeks. Because animal control called us the day after the incident.
I mean, did you ever consider, given that this has gone on now for a number of months, if the dogs were being walked or in the orchard, to be on a leash anyway?
I have to say that since the incident in October where we had the bite, none of the other things were reported to me until the end of February. So all those other things that happened in December and happened everything, I never got a call from the dog officer until the end of February. So I don't know
Right.
if these calls were coming in and no one was telling me about them, or if they all came in together. But honestly, I didn't realize I was bothering anybody.
That's a true. We had no clue. We just had to see the mail. So.
I guess at this point in time, if we can ask other individuals to stand.
To speak in favor of, and if we're done with that, then you can.
Are there any other individuals who wish to speak in favor? If not, then we can ask individuals who are here to speak not in favor. I do ask, as I said before, raise your hand to be notified. I'll recognize you. Please state your name and your address, and I would like the comments to be succinct and brief, because we do have copies of all of the information here, so, understandably, a lot of what you're gonna say, we already have the information, but please keep it succinct and brief and to a minute or two, and, this way we can get a number of folks in. We will not let this go on all night, but obviously, we'll wanna hear from another individual, so. Yes, sir.
So I can go first. I'm Bill Bravo. I live on 14 Annymore Road, private road out of Annymore. I'm the one that she was just mentioning that the dog jumped over the fence and attacked me. The irony of that, and you have everything in the letter, was that I had called them because I went to the open house, and I actually called the phone number that was on the open house invitation 2 days prior to the dog jumping over the fence, because our neighbors who all live on the road with us, one of them's a dog walker. And she will not go up that road anymore because she was so concerned about the dog. I said, yeah, I know that we should probably do something. I called, no one called me back. I left them a message on the machine, no one ever called me back. So that next day, the irony of this is I took my English Golden up for a walk. I saw the dogs on the far side in the 4-foot fence area. I just went walking up, minding my own business, and I've trained dogs. I've had dogs all my life. I've had shepherds, I've had wolves, I've had everything. Just walking up, minding my own business. Bella, thank you for the name, the larger German Shepherd, literally just climbed over the top of the fence. That is not a small dog. These are puppies, yes. Weight-wise, I'm guessing probably 80, 85 pounds, 90 pounds.
80.
That's a big dog. Bella literally just climbed up over the fence and attacked me in my English. All I did was yell as loud as I could and command the boys, get them down, threw rocks, threw sticks, so they finally stayed on the outside. Then I was waiting for my daughters on the bus. I told all the other kids that we're about to get off the bus, get in my car, no one's going up. Now my neighbor was there, unfortunately she's at home right now. She's the dog walker. She saw the whole incident, came up with her car, tried to get me in the car, but I was just kind of scaring the dog away. And then finally someone made a sound, and the dogs ran around to the backside. Then we called the police and you have all the rest. So I have no malice against shepherds. I love shepherds, I think they're fabulous breeds, but they need to be in control. And it's the owners. You can have a trainer all you want, but it's the owners and in your field and in your yard. And I have 2 daughters. So at this point, now that completely clears the rest of that off. It's concern for safety, period. That's all I have to say.
And the approximate date of when you made that phone call?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The approximate date of when you made that phone call?
The date of my letter. If you have the letter, I brought a copy.
Okay. So this was recent?
March 9th, so I
Okay.
called March 8th.
Okay.
7th or 8th, I called and left a message.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Yes.
I'm William Quinn, people call me Chip. I'm at 6060 Annie Moore Road. I wrote a letter which you have on the advice of the Assistant Animal Control Officer. And I was walking in the Lord's Orchard and was accosted by dogs with the lady in the distance. And nothing happened. This was about 3 weeks, a month ago. I do want, but it's scary in the sense of the dogs don't behave as individual dogs. The dogs behave as a pack. And the psychology is different. My mother had a dog that was torn apart by a pack. And I think that I would ask you that they require that the dogs be on a leash if they're outside the fence in the Lord's Orchard or on conservation land. It's really scary. It's not a nuisance. It's a frightening safety problem. That's all. Do you have questions of me?
No, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Todd Croto, 195 Anymore Road. I sent a letter. I was collecting maple syrup at the border with my 10-year-old son, who normally I would let do that by himself. And we had heard through my wife about the aggressiveness of the dogs. And I share the concern that had I not been there, had he been by himself, had he started to run, which a normal child would do, what would they have done? Where the trees are quite a distance from the orchard, they were on me instantaneous. This was not passive. This was the two of them, and then the mother, I guess Bella, right up on me, snarling. And same thing, I've owned aggressive dogs, we've had to put down aggressive dogs, so all I did was kind of control them to the point that they finally ran off. But there was no running back over to see what was happening. There was no way you didn't know what was happening that day. You were running away from them, calling them. That's not sort of owning your dogs, in my opinion.
Yes.
Shauna Croteau, 195 Anymore Road. I wrote the letter. Same thing happened to me as happened to Chip. New Year's Eve, I was in the orchard with my 2 dogs on a leash because Chuck Lord had given me permission to walk in the orchard because I no longer walk past your house. So I was walking the dogs at about 3:30, and the beehives were on my right. There's a copse of trees after that. I was walking, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see 3 dogs. I know what happened to Mark. I froze. I decided to turn around and try to get out of there quickly. They saw me. I started to run. All I could think was the dog bite. Then I realized that's not what to do. I stopped. They came within about 12 feet of me, and I just stood with my 2 dogs who did nothing. They were terrified. And I just screamed at the top of my lungs, "No!" and just tried to be as aggressive as I could. And in the distance, I didn't even know where I heard the voice, just calling, "Puppies, puppies." I didn't even see anybody. So that's my story. You have that letter. The second story that I just want to also mention is while my husband has been collecting sap, my father-in-law was here visiting from Albuquerque. He has now gone back to Albuquerque, so he cannot say what happened. But he was collecting for about 4 hours 2 weeks ago, and he said the entire time he heard the dogs barking because the Lords had some of their workers in the orchard trimming trees. If a stockade fence was going to go up along Annie Moore, the Lords have workers that work in the orchard all summer long when people's windows are open. And this is not friendly barking. So those are kind of my 2 points.
I'm sorry, addendum to what I was saying before, that's one of the things when they first moved in, at the bottom of our road, our private driveway, are where all the kids get on the bus. And when they were behind the 6-foot fence, it was nothing but snarling and barking, constant.
Yeah.
So that's a good point, I forgot about that. That's something where the kids were like, can we get out of the car? Yes, they're behind a 6-foot fence, but it is nothing but nonstop barking and snarling. 3:30 when they get off the bus, they come running around, snarling and barking. Hasn't happened lately, it hasn't since vacation, since December, but that is a huge thing too.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Andy Roberts. I live at 56 Annymore Road. I have not had an incident. I would say I have a 3- and 4-year-old, 3-year-old and 4-year-old at home. We often have, many kids, up to 10 kids playing in our yard. You can't keep an eye on 10 kids, 100% of the time. We feel that, unless some actions are taken. I know we've discussed a lot of possibilities here tonight. We don't feel safe, with our kids doing things that we moved to Bolton to do. So we understand the love of Bolton, walking through the orchard, picking apples, picking corn. That's something we don't feel safe taking our kids or our neighbors, our friends' kids to do at this point in time.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the back of the room.
Charlie Conroy, 204 Long Hill Road. I just want to echo what was said a moment ago. I haven't had any direct experiences with the dogs, but from hearing all the things in our neighborhood. So we back up right to the orchard, and we have 2 kids who are 5 and 7. I don't let them outside anymore, and that was one of the reasons we moved to Bolton, was let them run around in the woods and in the fields. And now I worry when they go out, because the incident that Todd just spoke about was on our property line. We let Todd tap our trees, and so we know that dogs in the past have come right up to our property line where our kids play and go sledding in the winter and so on. So for us, it's a real safety issue for our kids, and we have their friends over too, and now I'm worried about that. I mean, it's a real, we're really concerned.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I guess I gotta go. John Laughlin, 250 Long Hill Road, Bolton. I'm the livestock owner. And I just want to address, welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I've been in Hudson, Bolton since 1962. I've been farming since 1993 in Bolton. You have my report in February. My concern is, 2 years ago when we had all that snowfall, I have a 52-inch fence backed up by electric to keep the cattle in. They were walking on a 48-inch snowpack. So I don't care if you have a 6-foot fence with German Shepherds is not going to make it. I love dogs. One of my best friends in New Hampshire trains dogs for the Customs Agency, for state police, biting drug dogs. Shepherds are very aggressive. They're a predator. My cattle are prey. On the incident I'm talking about, when the dogs came over the stone wall from the orchard and started running the cattle up and down the fence line, it's a matter of public safety. Where's the liability line? If your dogs kill my cattle, I'm insured for $80,000. Doesn't bother me. But if they chase the cattle out past the fence, where does the liability lie? Wasn't too long ago, a few years back, where a bull got out on Route 190 and some young man coming home from work hit it and was killed. It was a multi-million-dollar lawsuit from Farm Family. If the cattle get out, I might not be uninsurable. I might become uninsurable. I've been with Farm Family since 1993. If you walk the dogs off leash and they're in a pack mentality, they're going to chase the prey. I have 10 pregnant cows up here. One of them had early birth right after that incident. It was a premature birth. Luckily, it's alive and safe. And I know you probably love, you love animals. I love animals too. Welcome to Bolton. Do what you want with your dogs, but please just don't let them run on it, because it's public safety. If they get out, you're not going to hold back my 2,000-pound bull with a pack of dogs chasing him. And once he goes, and he gets on Long Hill Road, and the whole herd follows him, they could end up on 495. I don't know. So it's public safety that I care about. You know,
Thank you.
that's all I have to say. And my kids are all grown up, so I'm not worried about it.
All right, think we've, yes, sir.
My name is Mark Harwood. I live at 42 Hennimore Road. I've been there since 1997, coming on 20 years. The Lords have been very gracious with their property to allow me to run my retrievers, train my retrievers in that space. I've walked the dogs off lead in that orchard for like the last 20 years. In terms of the report, let me just clarify a few things. I reported the incident the day after it happened. I went, with the afternoon it happened, I went back to work. You've seen all the photos. I'm giving you all that correspondence. I said to myself, I wasn't going to report it. I wasn't going to report this. And then I stopped and I thought about all the accident, all the kids that live in our neighborhood, and I said, I can't let it go. Right? So I stopped and I walked across the street and I banged on the door and I told them, as a good neighbor, this is what I'm going to do. And they pleaded to me not to report this. The comment was, do you know what they'll do to the dog? Right? Didn't never ask me how I was doing or anything like that, but was more concerned about that dog. Right? So I want to make a point that I reported the incident directly after it. I went to him to tell him what I was going to do. I was rebuffed, and then it's all gone to hell in a handbasket. I told them what was going to happen with the neighborhood. Right? So we are in a situation where people are afraid to walk on our road, and I told you that people walk the orchard all the time. They don't care. They don't care. As a matter of fact, when we were watching the orchard, I had the dogs run up on me. Second half of my report, right? They ran up on my son, and I've got an individual that says, I have permission to walk the dogs off lead in the orchard. These dogs are wild. Wild. They're dangerous. They're dangerous. I love German Shepherds. Big working dogs are great. I used to have a big working dog. The same breeder that Chris has got. It's untenable. It's just untenable. A couple of other things. So it's been reported that the Lords have allowed these folks to walk the dog on a lead in the orchard. That's not true at all. So I got a very nice handwritten letter from Cindy Lord on the end of February. And I have the original if you'd like. And in that letter, she says that the situation's become untenable. Right? So she's told these folks no longer to walk the dog in their orchard. And consequently, she's told me that I can no longer work my dogs or walk my dogs in the orchard. Now, I'm happy to do that for them. I respect them. They've been wonderful, wonderful, very appreciative neighbors. I couldn't ask for anything better. But this situation has an impact on me. I've been there 20 years. I've been working my dogs in that orchard for 20 years. 6 months. 6 months. And I got that letter. Now, as a matter of fact, I called Steve Lord on the phone, Chuck's brother, and I said, if you've given these people permission to walk their dogs off lead in this orchard, if they bite somebody, and you've actually given them permission, not only are they liable, but you're going to be on the hook as well. So this is an untenable situation. Another thing, a 6-foot stockade fence at the end of my driveway, right? I've had the luxury of looking into this orchard for the last 20 years. Now I'm going to look at a 6-foot stockade fence that runs approximately 150 feet, right? I'd like to know what's going to happen with the other 4 acres of property where they've got a 4-foot chain link fence. I've had dogs all of my life. I can tell you, I can tell you instances where we've had dogs climb an 8-foot stockade, 8-foot chain link fence. Routinely. So a 4-foot fence is not sufficient. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing. Not only that, so they're going to put up a spike fence at the end of my driveway, right? And they're going to leave the other 4 acres with a 6-foot chain link fence that looks like the prison over in Shirley. I don't know about you, but I find that offensive. Not only that, but Annymore Road is a designated scenic road. You know that. I'm not sure exactly what that means, But I think if I read the bylaw, they talk about the need for open space and scenic view. Now, as far as a 6-foot stockade fence on the end of my driveway, I find that in conflict, absolutely in conflict with the bylaw. I'll pursue this, I swear to God, I'll pursue this until it's resolved. But this has got to stop.
Thank you very much. Just for clarification, the scenic road bylaw has to do with the potential for removing any trees and stone fence in the roadway. I don't believe in the scenic road bylaw itself there's anything specific about the type of fence that can be used. There may be some other bylaw there.
Can I just add something?
One other comment, and I think we've pretty much
It's
exhausted.
going to be real quick so everybody understands that my cattle do pasture in the orchard in the summertime. And you're not aware of that, but I'm making you aware of that at the bottom of the pasture, at the bottom of the orchard, there's about an acre there that they run up from my property onto Mr. Lord's property, and we've been doing that for years. So you don't know about that yet, but they're going to be in the orchard.
And how often do people work in the orchard?
All right, I think we've pretty much have exhausted the testimony. As I said, we have all the information here. Unless there's something vital and new and something that we haven't heard yet, I think we've gotten a very good picture. Mr. Ludden, would you concur on that?
I would. So the next step in the process would be you need to entertain a motion to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. So the evidentiary portion is closed, and then public deliberations will begin. The members then must deliberate in open session in a manner that can be followed by those in attendance, i.e. in loud and clear voices. Then we will be dealing with 2 issues, whether there is a violation, and if so, what action should be taken according to the open discussion. I think, from what I've heard, this has been going on for 6 or so months. I've heard the testimony from the owners of the property and the dog, and their willingness to work, but there seems to have been a protracted period of time where this has continued despite good intentions. And yes, only one individual was bitten, but however, my earlier definition of a dangerous dog includes, the potential threat or perceived threat of harm to an individual or another animal. Do you have any comments that you want to make?
I don't. I grew up with German Shepherds, and I question the ability to really control 4 dogs if you're working full-time and you're not there with them a lot of the day. They're just very intelligent, and they need a lot of discipline to kind of keep them on the property and, doing what they're supposed to do. So it's great that you have this huge yard, but I just wonder if it's possible to keep 4 dogs, that intelligent and big, occupied and satisfied in a pen, a large pen.
Susan, I know you've been closer to this than us. In terms of the various incidents that have occurred, are you able to potentially characterize those where either the dogs were let out in the part of the property that had the 4-foot fence as opposed to the 6-foot, assuming that the dogs, if there was no snow on the ground, maybe couldn't necessarily get out, versus those incidents where the dogs were out or off on the property, unleashed, with potentially one of the owners either with them in the distance or not? I mean, do you have some sense of?
Well, there's only been one complaint that I know of about them coming out over the 4-foot fence, and that was fairly recent, and we do have a police report on that. Most of the complaints, the bulk of the number of complaints has been dogs out of control, nobody around, dogs acting, surrounding people, acting in a vicious manner. Shepherds are big dogs, and I cannot imagine how frightening it must be to have 4 dogs circling you, barking and growling. That to me is, unfathomable.
Right.
But that's been most of the complaints.
Right, and I think what I heard from some of the individuals speaking this evening is that the dogs are there, but the owners are not.
That's right. Or the owners are there in, not in sight.
Not in sight.
Over the hill and far, far
Right,
away.
right.
So that the owner has absolutely no control, and these dogs are now working on, German Shepherd hormones.
Right. Well, it seems to me that there needs to be better containment. I think you would agree, and I think, your statement that 6-foot-high fence may not necessarily in itself be sufficient, and perhaps doing something additional there. And I think certainly, not that we're making a decision yet, but certainly, if they are off property, then they should be at the very least leashed.
And it should be one dog per person. Even two,
Right,
one
right,
person
right.
with 2 German Shepherds.
Right, yeah, not 4 dogs, not 4 dogs in one person.
No, these are not Chihuahuas.
I think you.
Yeah, I had a question. Would you consider a muzzle? Was that considered a form of control to have a muzzle?
In and of itself?
Right, I mean,
No,
I don't know.
No, in and of itself, no. I think it may come to the point where we might need a leash and a muzzle, depending upon where things go, but it's not a muzzle or a leash. It would be, at least in my view, it would be a leash and potentially a muzzle. In addition to that, we did have another incident some time ago where that was discussed. But no, it's not I think at this stage, at least from my perspective, the dogs have been allowed to roam too much, and I don't think that we need to stop that.
So at this point, Mr. Chairman, the first step is for the board to determine whether or not there's been a violation of the dangerous dog law.
Right. Do you want me to read the definition again?
Yes, if you don't mind. I'm
Sure, no problem. Dangerous dog is a dog that either A, without justification, attacks a person or domestic animal causing physical injury or death, or B, behaves in a manner that a reasonable person would believe poses an unjustified imminent threat of physical injury or death to a person or to a domestic animal or owned animal.
Can I ask Susan a question?
Sure.
What happens if they're deemed dangerous dogs?
There are, you can put all of the controls on them without just, if, 6-foot chain link fence, leash walk with bundle, only 1 dog per person, you can do all of that. But the declaration of dangerous dog makes it a greater offense if one of these dogs gets loose. I've never heard of anybody going through all of those stipulations and not having been declared.
I believe what she's saying is that you can't go into any remediation or corrective action unless they're declared to be dangerous.
Right.
Can I ask?
Is that correct, Susan?
Yeah, because then the penalties or,
Right.
whatever are fairly clear and they're, I think also it brings home how much responsibility this truly is. And it isn't, we use a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but it's something
Right.
more tangible.
May I ask Mr. Valadimos?
Sure.
Mr. and Mrs., would you agree to stipulate that they're dangerous dogs?
Well, to us, obviously, they're not.
Yeah.
We don't feel that they're dangerous. They're lovely dogs. They're very friendly with everybody. So obviously, these are bad situations. We don't want to see this happen. And we will correct these things. So we don't want them to be called dangerous dogs, but we want to make sure that we correct the problem. So if it's an agreement that we fix the fence, we take the leashes, we do all these things, we just don't want them to be classified dangerous dogs. But we are more than happy to fix all these problems. So we can make an agreement, we can meet again in 6 months, and we can have a discussion about this, and we show you all the improvements.
How about if there's one incident, one more incident, then you can do whatever.
Because we're working,
next
this
step.
is, just give us some time.
What child has to be bitten in one more instance, and it's not gonna be mine, or I will kill the dog myself.
But it's not gonna happen.
I don't want to take that chance with anyone's kids, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right, so we're closing this.
I speak to them, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak out of turn.
That's right. Susan,
I mean, this isn't let's make a deal.
I know, I understand.
No.
Susan. If hypothetically, if let's say a dog is declared dangerous for purposes of being able to apply certain corrective measures, and let's say hypothetically, the dog or dogs in question go to some type of professional training, and then potentially at some point down the road, if the dogs demonstrate that they are no longer acting in that behavior, could they then be deemed not dangerous, but the conditions that were specified in terms of, let's say hypothetically, a 6-foot fence with a little angle thing and 2 feet down and this and that and the other thing, and having to be walked with a leash, 1 dog per person, could still be applied? Or is it once a dog is declared dangerous, you'd never go back?
I have never heard it having been,
Okay, I just wanted to ask that question.
Because, the stipulations about that, the word dangerous means also that the dogs cannot be sold to somebody else under, that
Right.
this, title
Right.
goes,
I got you.
goes everywhere and forever.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to go back, to the time question. So you have to understand that, as my wife said, we never heard about these things until 4 weeks ago. So we'd like to get a chance to correct the problem. That's all. I mean, give us a chance. So it's one of those situations, of course, nobody wants to get anybody to be bitten. Are you kidding? Who wants that? Who wants that?
About what things?
So we're trying to fix the problem. We're trying to fix the problem, and we will fix the problem. And so that's all we're asking for some time. I mean, it's only been a month that we heard about it.
You had your hand up first. I'm sorry, that's right, we're done. We can't collect any additional evidence. I'm sorry.
Point of information.
Question on dangerous dog. If the calf had died, would it then be considered a dangerous dog on the premature birth?
According to the bylaw, according to what you just read, that's a death of an animal.
I mean, I don't try to have.
Well, it's not a bylaw, it's just, it's.
Sorry, not bylaw, but the
it's
stipulation.
from
State law.
this right here. So yes, thank you, Don. We're not, at this point, we've closed taking any additional evidence.
Request for information.
Is that allowed?
We're
We're in deliberations, I'm sorry, no, sorry. It's very strict on what we can do and can't do here, so I do apologize, but we are following the law.
I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but I have a proposed resolution. First,
You have to decide whether there's been a violation or not.
so I would make a motion that we declare or determine that there's been a violation and that the dogs are deemed dangerous.
I think that in this case, it is unfortunate that you may not have realized.
Mr. Chairman, wait a second.
But I'll entertain a second on this.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Now the second portion is what
The remedy is.
what the remedy would be, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a proposed remedy.
Sure.
So I would, that the fence, even before the spring comes, that there be immediate repairs, consistent with what the, Ms. Latham has said, 6 feet high with the cutback.
Yeah, and ideally something, down underneath, so that it's underneath, here's the fence, and here's the thing that goes in over the top. That way, if the dog decides to start digging, it's gonna hit fence and
Right.
it's not gonna go anywhere.
So that would be number one, immediate fix of the fence, and then a permanent fix of the fence as soon as the frost allows. Number two, that when the dogs are outside of the fence, and we're assuming that that gate be shut and locked, that it would be 1 dog per person on a leash. In terms of the parameters of the fence, can it be adjusted so that there's less visual interference with neighbors and things like that? And then, I guess that is,
I think also the
They-
dogs can only reside in the portion of the yard that has the 6 foot fence.
6-foot fence. And then when they leave that area, they'd be on a leash. Is a leash, do we need to designate what type of leash, or?
Well, it would be, it would be 6-foot leash, no longer than 6 feet. With such a material that it,
It's set at 300, is it a 300-pound tensile, 300 pounds, a minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 foot in length. I'm sorry you're here. Very sorry you're here.
Can I just add, I've never been to one of these before, but just as a curiosity question, as another proposed solution that you might think of is, can they break the dogs up? If there's 2 dogs, it's no longer big and back, if they can get rid of 2 of those dogs, it certainly would limit their ability to do what they do. I know it's probably not the best, but it's another possible option. 2 dogs are maintainable, 3 dogs, 4 dogs is a pack. 2 dogs are not.
I think the proposal is for, one dog per person on the
Yes, no,
wall,
I think it was,
outside of it.
yes. I don't believe that that's something that can be discussed in the context of this hearing. But yes, your proposal, I think, is reasonable.
So I'll.
Well, let me just, Susan, are you comfortable with that?
yeah, I think, muzzled, changing the fence so that it's, foolproof. That the dog, whenever is being taken for a walk, it has to be on a 6-foot handheld leash. And by somebody that can control it, so you can't give your 6-year-old daughter, one of these dogs to walk. And, I think any place in public, the dog ought to be muzzled. So it would be muzzled and leashed.
When you say
They
muzzle?
have never bitten anyone.
Why muzzle? I don't understand that.
The kind of muzzle, there are lots of different kinds of muzzles. It needs to be one that the dog can breathe freely, so you don't want one of the ones that's a no bark thing that's really tight. So like a basket muzzle, but it's of a material that, like, it's not plastic, so it's not going to give. That should one of the dogs break loose and decide to do something, it still can't bite.
And this is when it's on a leash?
That's, yeah,
Off.
when it's off the property on a leash.
Right.
Can you also need a second for
Yeah, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
that? Would you like Linda to read back the?
Yes, please. Go for
So
it.
Tom's motion was that the fence, that immediate repairs be made to the fence, and then it be permanently fixed when the frost allows. When the dogs are outside of the fence in the gated area, 1 dog per person on a leash. And dogs only in portion of 6-foot fence, and when they leave, they must be leashed and muzzled.
Can I ask a point of clarification, please?
Yes, sorry, we're allowed to do that.
So when you say the dogs are off, if they're outside the fence, they have to be on the lead. Does that mean the 6-foot fence or the 4-foot fence area?
Outside of the 6-foot fence area.
So if they're in the 4-foot fenced-in area, as it exists now, they need to be on a lead?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes, and any place outside of the 6-foot-high fenced-in area.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And then there was some language about the fence related to the abutters.
Tom didn't have that. And he did, that wasn't.
That was not part of Tom's original motion.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
he said it.
I think it was.
sorry.
The Valadimuses have agreed to adjust the parameters of the fence to minimize the visual interference with.
Thank you.
Yes, he did have it.
And I would just add about, I'm reading from, I don't know if it's our bylaw or it's the statute. So they recommend minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 foot in length. The statute, that's from the Mass General laws.
Okay, so it would be 3 feet, not 6 feet.
Yeah. Do you think 3 feet's reasonable for
Certainly if you're in any kind of situation where you're, out in the public, but if you're in a field somewhere and you're just walking the dog, I think muzzled and a 6-foot leash is adequate, because, there isn't gonna be, you're not in a congested area where there are a lot of people.
Right.
Certainly a 3-foot leash would be more appropriate if you're, taking the dog for a walk in, downtown Maynard.
Right.
Just to clarify, there's a difference between a 3-foot and a 6-foot leash, is because when a dog lunges, if they have a 6-foot lead, they can get more distance between you and pull you faster. So a 3-foot leash is for keeping a dog close to you.
All right, so a motion's been made and second. Do I have, all those in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we've taken a final vote. I will entertain a motion to close the public.
Mr. Chairman, before we exit, we haven't given a time frame within which they need to comply.
Thank you. Well, I believe the leash and the muzzle are immediate. The fence upgrade and repair needs to be done. I mean, I don't know if there's issues with frozen ground, but.
Well, temporary repair, it sounds like could be done immediately. The frozen ground, they have no control over.
Right. So leash and muzzle immediately, temporary repairs immediately, and the rest of the work to the fence done as soon as the weather permits. Anything else done?
No, we would need to do that in the form of a motion as well.
Okay, well, I entertain a motion to have the leash and muzzle done immediately, temporary repairs to the fence done immediately, and the rest of the upgrades to the fence done as soon as quickly as the weather permits.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anything else? Okay, so now I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And direct Don and Linda to take care of proper notice of the decision and action taken according to applicable law. Thank you very much. Don, you said our next agenda item is. I'm sorry. We understand. We can go officially right to next. Sorry, you're
Skipping number 2.
Right. skipping number 2. All right, the other conversation, then we can take it outside the building, outside the room, please. We have to continue our meeting.
Yeah, I had the comments.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. Good night. All right, folks, next on our agenda, we're skipping agenda item number 2. They've asked to come back another day. So following that, the following agenda item is a request for a variance to the house numbering sign bylaw, chapter 118, section 2, regarding the size of the sign. This is the Bolton Firefighter. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, gentlemen. I am here on behalf of the Bolton Volunteer Fire Association. We are a 501c3 charity made up of members of the Bolton Fire Department. We are requesting a variance from section 118, which requires all houses to be numbered for public safety. There's wording in there. There's a sign no larger than 12 by 12 inches with number not less than 3 inches. We are looking to do a fundraiser to sell a sign of this nature, which measures 18 inches by 6 inches, with signs of numbers of this size. We're going to do it in green rather than blue, but this is the size number we're going to propose. If you guys want to see the sizing. We're looking to do that sort of fundraiser for 2 reasons. One, to raise money for our association. We contribute to other charities. We just donated to the Neshoba after prom because we want to make sure that those kids have a safe place to go, so we don't have to respond on the night of prom to anything. We support the fire department with some things that they might not be able to buy otherwise. We also partake in kind of cultural and fraternal events such as the Wachusett Truck Muster with our neighboring mutual aid departments. Once a year on Father's Day we get together and engage in friendly competition against Harvard and Boylston, West Boylston in different events. We chose this fundraiser specifically because it furthers our cause as firefighters. Not being able to find a house is something that we struggle with on a daily basis. It's late, it's snowing, it's raining, it's dark. It's something that we have issues with regularly. This sign we can get commercially, the raw product to us easily. The only thing is that it is bigger than 12 inches. If you do the area on it, a 12 by 12 sign is 144 square inches. This sign is 108 square inches, so it's actually 25% smaller, but the size enables us to use a larger number, which is easier to be visible late at night. It is also made of the same material that highway signs are made out of, so this is a very reflective surface, such that again we can find residents late at night. So that is our request. This is the sample, and I would like to see it again.
So this is, let me try to understand, this is a request for a variance for fundraising.
Yes, sir. We don't want to go forward and sell this to the townspeople of Bolton and have it be in violation of the bylaw. This way we would like to be able to say to people if they ask, yup, we have a letter from the Selectmen that states this is okay, they've approved of this sort of sign. It's just that we are...
Okay, so you're not asking to change the...
We are not asking to change, we are asking for this... We are asking you to deem this size acceptable going forward. We've also consulted with the code enforcement official in town, the building inspector. He's all in favor of this. He thinks that the visibility is great. The fire chief is in favor of this.
And this fundraiser will be, you're just going to reach out and people who want to do this, you'll...
Yes, this would be primarily, we're going to at public events be there with a sample and flyers, whoever would like.
sign up.
Does the building inspector need to weigh in on this?
I believe he said he already had.
The building inspector did weigh on it, he is in favor of it.
Okay. I don't necessarily have a problem.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Is
Could
this?
you identify
is this-
yourself?
Oh, Dave Lindsay, Berlin Road, sorry about that. Is this in the bylaws that you have to have the sign this way? I mean, to change a bylaw, you've got to,
No, he's not asking, he's asking for variance.
the selectmen, the group that gives variances from zoning bylaws? Maybe this isn't a zoning bylaw.
It's not, I don't believe it's a zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So that's a good question. Are we the body that allows
Yeah,
allows this to be changed?
Under general references, it says zoning C chapter 250.
Well, this is chapter 118, not 2.
I know, but I don't know.
Oh, I see zoning, see chapter 2. I see, yes, in small print. Well, we have our clerk here.
Yes. Well, she's trying to find.
Oh, you're clerking now?
As a matter of fact.
So what bylaw is it?
Here you go.
Oh.
This one.
That's the first page.
This is
Oh.
the second page, it's 118.
118.
I think the phrase, using the phrase variance is what's throwing people off, because when you hear variance, you think zoning and you think land. I think what they're seeking to do is, prior to setting forth on this, by the way, Rosemary Bosley, 87 Laurel Road, maternal figure of the person in front of you.
You gotta make sure the bias is out there. There's a little
I'm putting my
bias.
bias and prejudice right on the table.
That's very interesting, maternal figure.
The maternal figure.
I've actually heard it put that way.
Yes.
Is that in the bylaws?
That is not in the bylaw. I think what they're seeking to do, and again, I think the word variance threw everyone off and made you think of zoning and land, is that they just want to make sure they don't go out and manufacture these signs and put them on people's mailboxes and then have someone come and say, whoa, your numbers are way too big. So I think they're coming to get the quote-unquote blessings of the select board after having spoken to the building inspector who said, no, I think this is fine within the parameters of the bylaw. I see it's okay, but you know what, check with the selectmen, get their okay, and then move forward. So it's not a formal variance per se.
Yeah, it's an administrative bylaw, 118.2, that he's quoting from, and that sign, it says no larger than 12 by 12 inches, so that's what he's
Right.
referencing.
So who's allowed to give?
It's administrative, it's not zoning.
It's not zoning.
It's not zoning.
All right, well, so, but selectmen are allowed to give, we're allowed to allow this quote-unquote variance?
So it's no larger than
larger
12.
than
No
12
larger than
by
12.
12.
Doesn't say it can't be smaller.
118-2.
But it's a dimension, an 18-inch dimension. This is. Didn't see through it.
What is that? It's not.
This is 18 inches.
Oh,
This is 18,
that's
this is
what-
6. And if you do
So the width is fine, it's just the height that's all.
And the square area is actually smaller. than
Total
the-
area is less.
The total area is.
Total area is less, so I would say,
It's a question of if you go by area or if you go by
Yeah.
true
Right.
dimension.
It also says this can be larger than that. It doesn't say it can be.
The building official is the code enforcement officer, and although it is administrative bylaw, but he has no issue with it.
I don't see why.
It's a smaller area, Joe, see what it's
Right.
like.
He referred us to you guys just to make sure that we're on board, so we can.
I'll visit it.
Nancy Schnitzler, speaking as a resident, though I'm also a reporter for the Bolton Independent, how will this be affixed to mailboxes?
Yes, ma'am. Mailboxes, or depending on the driveway. Mailboxes are our first preference because they're easiest to see from the street. There are some situations where they have been put on trees, but there are pre-drilled holes. We can attach it with a bracket to a mailbox such that it is seen like this, such that as we come down the road, we can see the number.
What about
like plows and the male people?
It's underneath the mailbox.
Under? I'm really having trouble visualizing it. Do you have a picture?
No, but I can draw them.
Yeah, okay. Let's do
Okay,
that. David?
Couple of things. I'm almost positive there's a bylaw that requires a sign at the foot of the driveway.
Oh, that's what we're reading.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes, sir, this is
Right.
what we're.
So, and also, if you put one of those on my mailbox, it wouldn't do you any good, and that's true of probably a third of the people in town, because our mailboxes are way away from our houses. So I think the foot of the driveway is where this belongs. But I've got a further argument. If this is a bylaw passed at town meeting, I don't think you can change it except at town meeting. Unless there's some specific, something that gives the selectmen the right to.
We're not changing anything, David. They're asking for a variance. They're asking
But for every driveway in.
No. For purposes, this is not being done for purposes of everyone in town having to deal with this. For this particular instance, the Firefighters Association wants to do a fundraising drive for anyone who wishes to purchase said sign to contribute to the Firefighters Association. So this would be completely voluntary.
I think that would look ugly in my neighborhood at the foot of people's driveway. So I don't like it, and
Well,
I've got a bylaw protecting me.
No.
We have town council here.
Bylaws is 12 by 12, so you could also go by area. And it doesn't say what it needs to be constructed
I thought
of.
the bylaw said it couldn't be any taller than 12.
Yes.
Larger than 12 by 12.
That's right.
Brian Phillips, America's Town Council. It doesn't sound like they're asking for
Excuse me, one conversation, please. Yes.
It doesn't sound like the request is to have signs larger than are required. I'm not really clear what the request is, but it doesn't sound like if there's a maximum size in the bylaw, it doesn't sound like this sign is larger than that. In fact, it's small.
Right, if you go by square inches, yes, it's smaller.
It exceeds the dimension in one dimension.
So can we use the interpretation then of area versus singular dimension? Is I guess can we interpret, is it your interpretation of the bylaw then that we can use area rather than?
I would interpret it would be area.
Then that would be a compliant sign and.
I mean, because otherwise you're talking about, if you follow, it's 12 by 12, so it's a shorter but square sign.
It's a square, yeah.
And so actually, this is actually better.
For our purposes, this is
Right.
considerably better, yes. Which is why we would like to go with a comment like this.
So that's the only size this fundraising company offers?
This is the only size that they offer that will serve the purposes of having 3 or 4 numbers, because we do have some houses in town that go up to 4 numbers.
And can I see that sheet?
I actually can give you.
I gave it back to a donor.
I have a lot of these.
Yeah.
Diagram. Thank you.
They're going to be green as opposed to blue.
They are going to be green.
Mr. Chairman, I think so the real issue, it isn't the size, it's can we give a variance of the size of the
Or an
bylaw?
interpretation.
And that's what you're here.
Or an interpretation, because it is my reading that 12 by 12, I interpret that as an area. Not being clear, we wanted to see if it is a singular dimension or if it is a surface.
But we have the authority to grant a waiver of this bylaw. Council?
I don't see where you have that authority in the bylaw that I have in front of you. I haven't looked at, at a disadvantage, I don't have the full set in front of me, but if this is all there is, I'm not seeing that. If it's a question of interpretation, I mean, under the zoning, it's normally left to the building inspector, but in a situation like this, unless there's some other enforcement authority, it would normally be the building inspector as well.
And he doesn't have a problem with it. And he says he's okay with it.
He's okay.
Oh, he doesn't live in town.
So if it's still the building inspector, he's weighed in, he said he's okay with it.
That's what I'm hearing, yes.
Okay.
Well, that's kind of like a verbal, there's nothing, do you have anything written from Don, from?
No, I have nothing from the building inspector.
We can get that if that's what you require. And if that's what we decide that is all we need, we can go to him and get that letter of interpretation. And as long as that will sit with this board, we'll take that up with him and.
Sounds like you don't even need to be before us if he gives you that.
If that's your interpretation, then we can.
Counsel, that sounds like what it is, right?
I think so, and again, this doesn't appear to be under the sign bylaw, it's under we have a bylaw on numbering of buildings, and this is, if we have a house that can't be visible from the street, where the number wouldn't do you any good, you may have a sign of a certain dimension, that's actually in the bylaw, to show the number of your house.
And the determining authority would be the building inspector.
I believe so, unless there's some other enforcement mechanism, that's where the bylaws are listed, I don't see who else would enforce it.
So it seems like you need a letter from sounds like you need, Mr. Chairman, a letter from the building inspector. And if he's deeming it appropriate.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to vote on it.
Yeah. Need the letter, I'm comfortable with what he word, but if you want the letter, that's fine.
The building inspector will copy me on whatever letter he provides, and I'll forward it on to the board.
You don't need to read it here then.
No, I don't believe so.
So we should, do we wanna just vote on anything, or we don't?
I don't believe you.
Okay, then, just get your letter.
Get your letter and we're good. All right, thank you,
Well,
gentlemen.
good luck. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
When did you?
Sir, we got 501c3 status. Mark, we got 501c3 status a few months ago.
1, 2, or 2?
2 to 3 months ago.
2 to 3 months ago.
Great. All right, moving right along, we have some events to approve. All right, can we have one discussion, please? Thank you. A request to hold the 15th annual Just Cause 60-mile 3-day breast cancer walk. Celeste Rodazzo. Come on down.
Thank you. We want to walk.
Okay. I see this is the 15th annual.
Yes.
So you've done this before.
Yes.
Okay.
First time in 14 years. It's a long miles. We're actually in Bolton a very limited amount of time. The walk starts on a Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and this year it's June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and each day is 20 miles. So the first day, we were in Harvard. We don't even touch Bolton. We stroll around Harvard, Boxborough, Stowe, Acton, come back into Harvard. The second day, we started at Bower Springs. And we head out of Flanders, up Harvard Road, to the Harvard line, past the Healing Garden, which is our beneficiary, and then we go into Boxborough, Stowe, parts of Stowe, then Acton, and to Concord. We spend the night there, and then we come home on Sunday. What happens in Concord we don't talk about, but on Sunday we head back home.
It's like Vegas. Right?
It is. It's fun. We head back home on Sunday, and the last, I would say it's maybe 2 miles, 2.5 miles. We enter from Stowe onto East End Road, Sugar Road, and we end at the Flaherty's residence on Sugar Road, right at Golden Run.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a very limited miles in Bolton, actually.
Okay. And have you gotten the okay from the police?
I believe so. We've done, I haven't actually, sorry.
Yeah, no, he approved it.
I thought so, yeah.
Okay,
we did.
so I'll make sure. Okay. Great, I'm fine with it, I have no questions, we've done it before, so.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, what are the dates?
June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
There you go.
Thank you. All set? Thank you very much.
You need to vote.
I'm sorry.
I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next up is a request for permission to hold a bicycles battling cancer ride on Sunday, June 11th, 2017. Mark Walter that's parked here. Come on down.
We want to ride.
How are you today?
Good. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
So I'm Mark Walter. I live in Westwood, Massachusetts. This is my second year working with the Bicycles Battling Cancer Charity Ride, which is a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society. I believe it's the 9th year of the event. We were requesting to come through Bolton. The ride has 3 distance options, a 30, 70, and 100. 30-mile option is does not come through Bolton, but the 70 and 100 does. The 30-mile is sort of this extension that's outside of Bolton. That's why it's not there. And we come up around. I have the. I don't know if you want me to get into the streets. It was all included in what was sent, but mile 8 is where we come through, so about a mile along the Aquatic Hill Road, and then that's sort of when the riders are going out, and then they come back, and it's about a 5-mile stretch where they come down Berlin and cross Aquatic, and then they go left on Berlin. And I've contacted the police. The police chief has approved the ride. We do have a couple of police details that are positioned along the route, and I'm hopeful that you will once again approve it.
Sounds good. Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
And I'll take a motion to approve the Bicycles Battling Cancer Ride for Sunday, June 11th, 2017.
Move that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
Next up is a final review and vote of the board's recommendations for the articles for the annual town meeting warrant for May 1st, 2017.
I do.
So you have like the latest hot off the presses version?
Yes.
Okay.
This is probably version 17 at this point.
I'm all set.
She's all set. Can I get mine again?
Richard, how about
I guess, unless you change it.
All right.
Yeah, it may have been,
Yes, because we got
okay, maybe
we
Richard,
got 2 advisory.
Pam needs one now.
It might have, so I would,
For Adam's
I would
fine.
take, I would use that one, please.
Here.
Do you have one for Kim?
Yeah, yes.
Anybody else while I'm up here?
Is there extra?
I'll wait for you to get back to your chair. Sir? Ma'am? I got it. You got it.
All right, we'll go through these. Some may take less deliberation than others. Article 1 is accept the annual reports. We still have to do ours, and I believe advisory, so we should hold off this till next week, since they don't really exist yet.
The annual reports are done. It's these.
Oh, the statements for the, okay, all right, so the annual reports are done,
Yeah, so I can email it to you.
Okay, but
All of it,
advisories
the
is
whole
done?
thing.
Okay, that's fine. I think it's fine, I mean, we're not necessarily gonna be commenting on anybody else's anybody else's annual reports, and we've approved ours, so. I think it's fine that we, I'll take a motion to recommend.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we approve that 3-0. Article 2 is unpaid bills for fiscal 2016. We have 3 of the sum of $310.98. 2 of them are each for $22.99 for Midwest Tape and $265 for the Patriot Ambulance. Now, these are unpaid bills from the previous fiscal year for services that have been rendered.
And because they're unpaid bills for an annual town meeting, they require a 4/5 majority.
Okay, thank you. If there are no questions, I'll take a motion to approve Article 2.
Move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye? Okay.
Number 3 is not finalized yet.
Number 3 is not finalized, so we will move on. Excuse me. Number 4 is to offset the snow and ice deficit. is to appropriate the sum of free cash of the sum of $100,000. This article is to assure the snow and ice deficit is covered in full before the new fiscal year begins. I'm fine with it. Any questions, comments from the gentleman?
Advise we didn't vote on this one yet?
No, because it was just, okay, was it? Okay.
No, they did not
No,
vote
I
on it
didn't
because
think
it
they
was
had.
just put in.
It was just put in, that's right. So we need, I mean, overspending has been approved, but a funding source has not been identified yet, and this will make sure that, that we can deal with the deficit and not have to put anything on the recap.
I'm fine with it. Any questions, gentlemen? All right, I'll take a motion to approve Article 4.
I'll move that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Article 5, and this is an article that gets put on the annual town warrant every year, is the reauthorization of a revolving fund for web-based municipal software services. This is a revolving fund that gets funded by a 7.5% technology fee surcharge applied to permits issued to fund web-based municipal software which are used by town departments. So this is just the ability to reauthorize that revolving fund. Any questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the similar thing, although this is slightly new, is the reauthorization of a revolving fund for the cadet program. We've had this fund before, but it was due to a change in the IS regulations, it needs to be set up in a slightly different account. So it's just more of an accounting thing rather than anything else. So I'll accept the motion to accept Article 6.
I'll move that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Brian, is this where we should be discussing the proposed new bylaws?
Yes.
Yes.
Brian, maybe you could tee this one up for the selectmen?
Sure. So, under the Municipal Modernization Act that was passed last year, which you may have heard of, had a laundry list of upgrades to the various municipal finance laws. One of them is the revolving fund statute, and the requirement is now that towns authorize revolving funds by bylaw, and it takes effect for fiscal 18. The problem is, our likelihood of getting the bylaw approved by the Attorney General's office before the start of fiscal 18 is relatively low. We usually get the approval letter sometime in July or August. So and the Department of Revenue has recognized this. They've passed, or they've submitted legislation to correct this, but that may not take effect in time. So what DOR is recommending, what I also recommend, is we do a belt and suspenders, which is the two articles that you just approved, which are our usual articles that we approve under the old version of Chapter 44, 53E and a half. And then also adopt the new bylaw that will govern revolving funds going forward. Whenever it's approved, it'll take effect, and that will be how we handle revolving funds going forward. The only change will be, after the bylaw is approved, at each annual town meeting, the town will still have to set the amount of the expenditure limit for each fund each year. So we'll still have to take a vote, although we may be able to bake that into the overall budget vote, but nonetheless, there'll be some action required at town meeting every year. But this bylaw needs to go into effect to comply with the new statute. I don't know if that's in the version of the warrant that the board has.
They actually had it clipped to the warrant I gave them, so, there's paper clipped to it, there it is.
And this bylaw is based on a model that the Department of Revenue put together, which I've modified for our code purposes and to reflect the two revolving funds that we usually have.
So, all right, so this is a new Article 7?
Yep, and then you have an additional, yeah, so that's the one that he is proposing, this one here.
And you scratch out.
That's correct.
You scratch out this set?
Yes.
We're still sorting out all the nuances of the Community Reform Act, and this is one that Brian correctly caught.
And then we have to do the additional article.
Right. For you.
So the first one is to replace what's in the warrant, and then the second one is this one here, we need to do also.
And it doesn't have a number, so it's
No,
not
it doesn't.
replacing
It's-
anything.
no.
It's new.
Right, the second one. it
We'll be
will follow-
reordering everything again
Yeah.
tomorrow.
So this could be effective, the new Article 8 and everything else gets pushed down?
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Ken, you have a question?
Yes, Ken Truth Advisory Committee. Just note that you have 24-2 in both Article 7 and Article blank. And I presume what you want to do is have Section F24-3 in the lower one.
Yes, that's correct. It's- it's-
Here. Should be 24-3.
Can't get anything by you, Kim.
All right.
We don't.
So we would need a vote on the.
So what you have is, the second bylaw that I'm recommending is that, there was a request to accept the provisions of, Chapter 40, Section 21E, which allows the town to set deadlines for municipal charges and also start charging interest on late payments.
Right.
And that statute also requires a bylaw for that to take effect, rather than just accepting the statute. So this bylaw does that.
Right, and then I also see in the third page, it references the two revolving accounts. The second of the two articles.
Okay, I'm sorry. The new Article 7 that you were looking at, that's the
I understand what that
40
is.
and
Right.
21E.
Right.
This unnumbered article, that's the revolving fund.
Right. Okay, I mean, I'm pretty clear with this. Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Okay, then I'll take a motion to approve Article 7, which is amendments to the Code of Town of Bolton, Division 1, Part 1, Administrative Legislation, Chapter 24, Finances, to add Section 4-2, Payments and Interest.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And you want to take Article Unknown next? So Article Unknown is amendment to the Code of Town of Bolton, Division 1, Part 1, Administrative Legislation, Chapter 24, Finance, to add Section 224-3, Revolving Funds.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then the Article 7 will go away. Okay, great. All right, Article 8 is an amendment to the Code of the Town of Bolton, Division 1, Part 3, zoning bylaws, Chapter 250, zoning, Article 5, special regulations, Section 250-27, inclusionary housing, to amend Section L.1A. Let's just get to the meat of this. Is the genesis of this bylaw recommends it was the planning board's desire to replace the current and outdated fees in lieu of units, flat fee of amount of $200,000 with formulaic approach, which will be subject to future adjustment as determined by the Department of Housing and Community Development. Okay, the bylaw lists the existing Section 250-27, inclusionary housing. So essentially, before there was a flat fee, payments in lieu of construction or provision for affordable use of $200,000 per unit. Now there will be sort of a determination of what that number is based upon a formula, which potentially could change each year. So that's really what the meat of this bylaw is. I think it makes sense. Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
I'll take a motion to approve Article 8.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Article 9 is amendment to the Code of the Town of Bolton, Division 1, Part 3, zoning bylaw, Chapter 250, zoning, Article 6, definitions, Section 250-28, terms defined, to amend the definition of fast food. Just I'll read the summary. To simplify the definition of fast food under Section 250-28, defined in the Code of the Town of Bolton. It eliminates the current definitions provision that currently allows fast food by right as an accessory use to a conventional restaurant to any other allowed principal use. The planning board seeks to remove this as of right loophole by instead allowing the fast food act as an accessory use only by special permit. So it just tightens things up. That's fine. Any questions, gentlemen? I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then Article 10 is just to codify the fast food, no drive-through service on where either no requirement or special provision is required, which just reflects what was done in the previous chapter, so it's just adding to the types of uses. So I'll take a motion to approve Article 10.
Move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Article 11, as amendment to the Code of Town of Bolton, Division 1, Part 3 zoning bylaw, Chapter 250 zoning, Article 6 definition, Section 250-28, terms defined to amend the definition of accessory building or use. I'll just get to the summary of the bylaw. Amendment addresses two modifications to the definition of accessory buildings or use under Section 250-28, Code of Town of Bolton. First, the change eliminates the concept of lot area from the definition. The current bylaw indicates that if more than 50% of the lot area is occupied by an accessory use or accessory building, it will no longer be deemed accessory. And this is problematic in terms of lot size. And in B, accordance with Section 250-13 dimensional regulations, maximum building coverage can only be 8% of the lot area, rendering the 50% reference moot. So it's just basically a little bit of tightening up and cleaning up. Sounds okay to me. I'll take a motion to approve.
Move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Article 12, another amendment to the Code of Town of Bolton, Division 1, Part 3, zoning article, Chapter 250, Section 250-28, change another definition to amend the definition of base map. This bylaw amendment serves to update the definition of base map under Section 250-28. Which base map was modified September 2016 pursuant to Bolton's annual town meeting in 2016. So we voted to update the base map, and we're just getting it into the bylaw, so it's just a cleanup. I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 13 is adding a Section 250-19(1) to the zoning article, firefighting water supply. I'll just get to the summary, make it easy for everybody. This bylaw amendment serves to create a firefighter water supply bylaw that meets the current National Fire Protection Association requirements. As a rule, community Bolton relies upon static water supplies for fire protection. The bylaw amendment is written in such a way as to be informed by current national standards related to firefighters. So it's just basically cleaning some stuff up. If there are no questions, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 14, another amendment to the Code of Bolton, Division 1, Part 3, zoning bylaws, Section 250-23, in terms of business, commercial, and industrial regulations, to amend subsection D. The summary is this bylaw amendment is to replace the current firefighting water requirements under Section 250-23 business, commercial, and industrial regulations with reference to Article 6, new Section 250-19-1, which I think is not Article 6 anymore. Is it Article, well, it's Article 13, which will then change, right? All right, so in the summary, we just gotta make sure that whatever the final number is it reflects the article that we just approved. The current requirement of the bylaw just are not informed by national standards, so this is basically cleaning that up as well. I'll take a motion to approve if there are no questions.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Article 15, amendment, again, another zoning bylaw, Division 1, Part 3, Section 250-17, driveways and parking, to add subsection A.8. I'll get to the summary. The amendment brings driveway standards within Section 250-17, driveways and parking, including those relative to managing storm water runoff onto public roads without sufficient drainage, to existing driveways that provide access to new dwellings that are built in place of existing dwellings, tear downs. So essentially, if you tear down an existing structure and put up a new one, you are subject to the newer standards. So if there are no questions, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 16, again, is zoning, to add section 250-23.3, temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers. I'll get to the summary. The planning board seeks to adopt a temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers to allow sufficient time to engage in the planning process to address the effects of such structures and uses, to adopt provisions of the zoning bylaw and the code of the town of Bolton in a manner consistent with sound land use, planning goals, and objectives. Well, I have no problem with it. Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Okay, I'll take the motion to approve.
I'll move that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 17 is public educational and governmental access, PEG, and cable-related fund acceptance. Just basically a new state law, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. Sounds like something from the Three Stooges. Has recently been approved that addresses the accounting for public education and governmental PEG cable access accounts. Town meeting acceptance of the statute is required, so I don't think we have a choice. This new fund will function in the same manner as the revolving fund that the town has been using for many years. So does that mean then we have to include that in this article unknown?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Because it's not a revolving fund, it's a
Okay.
special revenue
Okay,
account.
gotcha, okay. So it's just basically, we don't have a choice. If we want the money from Comcast, we have to do this. So I'll take a motion to approve if there are no questions.
I'll move that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, Article 18, stabilization fund. Excuse me, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the cell tower fund the sum of $25,000 to the town stabilization fund. I'll just read the summary. The stabilization fund, a reserve account allowed by state law established in Bolton in 2002 to set aside town money to be available for future spending purposes. The fund is intended to be used to mitigate emergencies or other unanticipated events that cannot be supported by current general fund appropriations. Money can only be taken out of the state, or taken from or added to the stabilization fund by town meeting vote. The current balance of the stabilization fund is $955,825.59. Stabilization fund helps to provide financial stability for the town while improving the town's creditworthiness and flexibility. This year, the advisory committee believes we have sufficient funds available to increase the level in the stabilization fund. I believe sometime in the past, we took money out for something, there was some emergency.
The most recent one that I can recall was back in probably early 2010, when we were working on the public safety building, and we were in the ground near where the end of where the bays are. And we found that there was an oil tank in the ground that no one knew was there.
Right.
And it had been leaking, so we had to remove the tank, we had to do the remediation and so forth. And it ended up being approximately $125,000 project that we were able to close out in a very quick time with DEP, I think 2 years max. But we would have been in big trouble without that stabilization fund.
Right, so So I mean, to your point, Don, six or 7 years ago, we did take some money out. And in a good number of years, we have not put anything into the fund at all. You know, many people have argued, including myself, that, you know, we should be stashing away at least a little bit of money in this fund each year for those emergency situations. I think, you know, $25,000 is an extremely modest sum of money. Certainly would be nice if we were able to do that, you know, more frequently, but personally, I think it's a good idea. If the advisory committee believes we have the money, I think it's a good idea to have the funds just in case we have some unanticipated or emergent situation like we have at the public safety building, you know, where we needed, you know, over $100,000 to take care of an unanticipated situation. Yes, ma'am.
Speaking as a reporter for the Bolton Independent, Nan Schnitzler, so what proportion of that 25K is the cell tower fund? In other words, that's not everything in the cell tower fund?
No, I think the cell tower fund is close to 6 figures. You know, it's like 70 to 100 grand, I think, you know, what we have, but that's only a small portion of that.
I have no questions.
No questions? Okay. No questions, I'll take a motion to approve Article 18.
I'll move that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Article 19 is to replenish the reserve fund, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $32,000 to the advisory reserve fund. Summary, because of special town meeting expenses and other anticipated operating expenses, the amount of the funding remaining in the advisory reserve fund is lower than the advisory committee and town officials believe will be needed to complete FY17 on June 30th, 2017. There has been a little bit more of a drain on the advisory reserve fund. I know that you'll be asking for some additional funds from that. I believe we voted, the advisory committee voted to appropriate $15,400 for the use of money to effect some temporary repairs on Wilder Road, pulling the plates down. And that was due to the fact that the bus company that transports our kids has deemed that the culvert on Wilder Road will be unsafe at the point in time that we get to the thaw. We had a potential cost of between $20,000 and $30,000 to have the bus company bring in special vans in order to transport those kids not over Wilder Road. And while I believe Harold still is not of the opinion that this is the best solution, it is a less costly solution than spending that sum of money for vans. So the additional money you're going to be requesting for legal expenses, that costs, I believe, there's a $7,500 something coming
Yes,
up.
for IT.
IT. You know, adding some additional, because also at the end of the year, there might be some unanticipated expenses, or as we had in this annual town meeting warrant, bills that will need to be paid next year. So there'll be some further credits on that. So I think it's a good idea to move the money over. I think it's a prudent thing to do. Joe, have any questions? All right, no questions. I'll take a motion to approve.
Move that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Article 20 is the purchase of an SUV for $40,000. This is coming from the ambulance department. They're requesting transfer of existing funds. This is money that we have in the ambulance reserve account. This is money that we set aside for ambulance receipts that we use partially to fund the EMS budget each year, but it's one of the primary uses, the visible uses, every 5 or so years, we use the money from that account to purchase a new ambulance for the town, so it's not costing the town anything for that. The SUV has been requested to be able to tow either a gator that was purchased, which is one of these little four-wheel drive vehicles to go into situations where a truck or a piece of firefighting equipment can't go, or to transport a set of lights, especially if there's an accident or something at night and they need illumination. I know Margie was in to discuss that. This has come up sort of as a, I wouldn't say last minute, but it hadn't come up when she was in originally. I don't think we have sufficient, personally, we have sufficient information to make the purchase. I think we had asked Margie to come back with some more details in terms of the number of times that a vehicle of this nature might be used versus not, and also in the short term, potentially putting a trailer hitch on a vehicle that they have access to at the fire station. So I don't know if Margie is planning on coming back to talk to us about that. I think also we do need to look at the fact that the last time we purchased an ambulance, the EMS squad had asked that we keep the existing ambulance, which then has ramifications on the loss of trade-in value and now maintaining multiple ambulances, and I don't know if that analysis has been thoroughly vetted. So I don't know if you want to allow Margie to come back in. I noticed that the advisory committee did not take any action on this.
I would suggest if we're going to have Margie come back in, it should be Tuesday night at advisory and
Yes.
not next Thursday.
Oh, no, I think so too, because obviously the advisory committee hasn't, they had an opportunity to take some action on this, and obviously they didn't, so perhaps maybe we can have Margie come in one last time, if you think that'd be reasonable.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, right, so why don't we just pass over to Article 20 right now and move on to 21, which is the purchase of a new repeater system for the police and fire departments for the sum of $271,855.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we need to add one more word to the article. We need to say, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or borrow or transfer from available funds.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, Lindsay, Berlin Road, if you put in the word borrow, won't you then require a 2/3 vote instead of majority vote?
It is a 2/3 vote.
Oh, is it? Okay, I've got an outdated,
Yeah, it's already.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's this, in this version is 2/3. I think Chief Nelson made a convincing case for the need for this communication of the officers, and it's to replace a almost 20-year-old, 30-year-old system, which is certainly it's underpowered and it's to reach its serviceable lifespan.
The fire department does a really good job keeping it going when we're in an emergency situation.
Right.
So.
Right, so, I think it's a good idea. I don't know if you have any questions or.
There are some questions. So this is for when power goes down. This comes into play when we have like the ice storm.
No, this is communication, this is.
Okay, so.
No, this is.
So the issue.
I think what you heard was that in the current environment, they have to keep running up with the generators that they have to constantly go up there and refuel if there's a power outage. But this has nothing to do with power outages. This is to provide.
Want me to do the technical explanation of the repeater? Will that help you?
No, just,
Okay.
Chief Nelson was talking about the generator. So we have this process where, large purchases like this go to capital planning, and usually it's a 5-year process. So this didn't go through that, and so I'm just wondering,
Actually, it did.
it did? So this has been on capital planning? I thought it just showed up.
I think there was a conversation between Michael Gore and the chief.
I don't, Ken Troop Advisor, I don't have that table with me this week, but it was, I believe, was rated near the top of.
It was.
Capital planning did in their ratings.
I guess, you know, the conversations I heard between advisory, capital planning, and others was that this was kind of a surprise item that just showed up with them. And I guess the question was, you know, there was also a discussion about grants for this. I think you had talked about.
Yes, we have submitted it as part of a 911 grant with regional dispatch.
So that grant application's been submitted?
It's been submitted. We have no idea whether or not it's going to approve, but it's been submitted.
I had a question. Is there any chance that this will be regionalized? Is there at some point in the future through the Neshoba Regional Dispatch?
No, I mean, that's, when regionalization was set up, it was declared to be a one-way street. Once you're in, you're not, and there's no expectation of the government shutting down any dispatch centers. If anything, the governor would like to see more, so.
Well, this has nothing to do with dispatch center, this is communication.
No, I know, but Tom asked the
Right,
question.
but this is communication of our police department with.
Within town.
Within town and the.
But the technology can't be shared in some fashion?
No.
Regionalized, I mean?
No, we have dead spots here for our own, yes.
Yeah.
So what is the grant amount that is going to apply for?
I believe it would be the $271,855. You know, it's a larger grant request than we've done in the past through Devon's, and as I said, I can't I have no guarantees whether or not we'll get it. I mean, we're pursuing it, you know, we're lobbying, of course, the 911 folks, but I can't set an expectation for you whether or not we'll get it.
So does, you know, if this goes to town meeting and passes, does that have any effect on the grant?
It shouldn't, because the grant's already been submitted, they're reviewing it on need. I mean, if we get it in the grant, my expectation is that we would not spend this money, obviously, so. But no, I have no reason to believe that it would impact our ability to get it.
Any other questions? Advisory committee approved it unanimously, so. I'll take a motion to approve Article 21.
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 22 is purchase of Route 117 traffic calming speed signs. These will be similar in nature to what you have seen on Route 117 in the town of Lancaster. The police department is requesting funding for 4 speed signs to assist with traffic calming initiatives. They'll be installed in two separate locations on Main Street. So 4 solar-powered speed signs, 4 precast concrete traffic signal foundations, and 4 pedestal posts. So I believe the feedback we've gotten from the town of Lancaster that this has helped.
They've been very, very effective.
Very effective. So I think for short money, I think it's probably a good idea because we're all concerned about speed.
It's amazing, I drive through there all the time, and it's amazing, I know where they are, and my foot still reflexively goes to the brake on the off chance that I'm speeding.
Yep.
So these will allow us to count cars in both directions?
It will. We can gather data from it, we can't do it for any sort of enforcement action, but we can gather data from it.
So in the past, when we've gotten data like that of how many cars, have we relied on Mass DOT for that information?
Usually Mass DOT. I think we probably had the Regional Planning Commission do a traffic count for us at one point, but I think it's generally DOT.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
And these are 110, 117 in the Manor in Maine?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, approximate distance.
Right,
yes.
right. No, I have no questions.
Okay.
I'll move that.
Okay.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Article 23, truck repairs, repair of the plow and sander trucks. This is repairs to some of the cabs which are rotting out, leaking quite a bit. So this will extend the life of some of the equipment that we have as opposed to having to buy new. Any questions?
No.
All right, I'll take a motion to approve.
Move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. You, aye? Okay. Article 24 is repairs to the 938G loader for $25,245. The DPW. Sorry, $425. So it's a few dollars more, friends. The DPW utilizes this loader year-round for drainage work and miscellaneous projects on roads throughout the town of Bolton. The loader is a 1999 with 7,585 hours. Repairs will be made to the cab and the loader will be sandblasted and repainted. So it's a lot cheaper than buying a new one. And this was approved 6-0 in favor unanimously by advisory. Any questions, gentlemen?
I'll move to approve Article 20.
Second.
That's 24.
I'm sorry, 24.
All right, second. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 25 is a purchase of a new four-wheel drive, 19,500 gross vehicle weight truck for $100,000. The DPW uses trucks on town roads and grounds year-round for lighter duty plowing during the winter. This will be have a dump truck body on it, and it will replace a 9-year-old vehicle in poor condition. I believe this is a 550. I think it's an F550 truck.
I think so.
But it's basically going to be used as a dump truck with a plow on it. Any questions?
Don, what happens to the 9-year-old vehicle in poor condition?
We will probably, I think in this case, we probably look to sell it at auction. I don't think we're using it as a trade-in.
And what did advisory do?
They haven't
voted?
They haven't.
Not that I know of.
Yes.
Council with advisory, the reason that we haven't voted is that there's still discussion as to whether this should be borrowed for using bond anticipation notes for what the treasurer said would be probably 5 years, or paid with cash. And I guess your input would certainly be worthwhile in that as well, but that's the reason we didn't vote. Because that hasn't been determined.
Will that discussion take place next Tuesday?
Correct.
So you want to just hold off and wait for the discussion?
So there's no doubt you guys are going to recommend to acquire it, it's just in what manner?
That's correct.
Right. Otherwise, I'm fine with voting to recommend, and it's really just how they're going to pay for it.
I would agree.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ken, for clarification. Article 26, Route 117 calming project, traffic calming project for $20,000. These funds will address the need to create a safety zone in the area of the Neshoba Regional High School. Improvements such as new signage, bringing electricity to the signage, and relining the road will make it safer for both pedestrians and vehicles. This was unanimously approved by the advisory committee.
I'll move Article 26 for approval.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Article 27, surveying and engineering for drainage issues on South Bolton and Spectacle Hill Roads for $25,000. There's currently a culvert which is insufficient to handle high water situations. As a result of the Century Mill real estate development, there'll be a significant increase in traffic at this intersection. This is something that is being sponsored by the Department of Public Works. And I certainly trust Harold's judgment that if this is something we need to take a look at, then I know that he's already said that there are drainage issues there already now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr.
Dave
Lindsay.
Lindsay, Berlin Road. Is there any way to get the Century Mill people to pay for this as some kind of mitigation thing, or does that all have to be worked out ahead of time?
That would have been worked out ahead of time.
Right. I mean, the project is way far down the road, so if this hadn't been negotiated up front, you know, having been on the planning board for 4 years, a long time ago, then no, it's a little too late for that now.
Was this disapproved, this was voted down by advisory?
Yes.
Do you want to, well, actually, we have someone from advisory here. Why did you disapprove it? Actually, two individuals from advisory.
From what Harold described, he was saying that whatever would happen there would be a ways off as far as the congestion that it talked about. So he didn't really think that it was that important in the short run. And we just weren't persuaded as a group that it was necessary compared with the other items that were on there. And it was low priority, as I recall, by capital planning. They weren't too enthusiastic either, so we just...
Okay. So I mean, I guess, is he indicating that, you know, that the problem will increase once Century Mill is built out?
Potentially.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's anywhere near built out now. So maybe this is something we can hold off.
Well, you have options, since advisory has disapproved it, if the board were to disapprove it, I mean, you do have the option to remove it from the warrant.
True. Do you want to have Harold, well, one option is to disapprove, one option is to remove it, one option is to have Harold come in one more time, and then make a decision if we want to. I would say, if this is not necessarily a critical thing now, my preference would be to remove it as opposed to disapprove it. Because disapproving something we don't necessarily need is different than just removing it and bringing it back another time.
Bob Sikansky, Norris Road. Was the advisory vote lopsided or was it close?
It was 6-0.
6-0.
That counts as lopsided.
No ambiguity there.
No ambiguity there, thank you.
I mean, I'll take your word for it that Harold doesn't think it's super high priority, unless you gentlemen want to ask him to come in again, or let's just remove it.
I'll make a motion to remove Article 27.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so we get rid of 27.
Well, maybe we don't have to change all the numbering after.
Well, no, you do, unless you put everything after this one.
Well, you know.
Okay, Article 28, Water Treatment Facility Repair Fund, $70,000. This has to do with the water treatment facility at the Florence Sawyer High School. What this really does is it puts in place a repair fund, which we will then add to a little bit each year. I thought it was a 20-year lifespan, or a 19-year lifespan.
It's a 20-year lifespan. Yes, DEP, well, the engineer told us it was a 20-year lifespan, so that should be it.
Yeah, that's, okay, so we're almost halfway through its lifespan, and it was recommended by DEP, even though, you know, it's a DEP, right? They recommended it?
Well, let me be, I don't want to get the ire of DEP.
Right, okay. So
DEP stressed that they can't require us to do anything.
Right.
But if this had been a private project and not a municipal project, they would have required 15% of the original cost to construct the facility put into an account just like this, to be able to affect future repairs right away. Since we're a municipality, we're not required to do it, we didn't put anything into a fund like that. So we just have been dealing with the issues we have at the water treatment facility now. We had an article approved for $68,000, I'm sorry, $86,000 at special town meeting to effect repairs for pumps and the like that we knew needed to be done. And there are other things in there that could, and we're fortunate to be able to do the repairs without having to, but we could still occupy the building.
Right.
There are other things that could happen where the building could not be occupied if something were to go wrong, and if we don't have this type of money available, we could have some serious consequences.
Right, you'd have to shut the school down or whatever. So I personally, I think it's prudent that we have this, and I think the goal is to add a little bit to this each year, just so that we have that money. Yes, Bob?
Bob Skansky, Norris Road. Could I suggest, for the purposes of clarity, that you rename this the wastewater facility instead of just water treatment, or the wastewater treatment facility? The casual voter might not know which
Sure.
direction we're going here.
It is outward bound, so we should show that.
All right, that sounds fine, sure.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to know, unless, Don, you've gotten advice from DEP otherwise, I think this needs to be set up as a capital stabilization fund.
Okay.
Which is essentially what it is. It's like a stabilization fund, but it's for a very specific purpose, for capital improvements to a facility. And so, I mean, the basics there, I'd make a couple tweaks to the language to make it a capital stabilization fund.
All right.
I believe is what we need to do here.
All right.
Okay. All right, I still think it's a good idea. And the advisory committee has approved 6-0 in favor, so they unanimously approved this. Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Article 29 is replacement of boilers at the Flora and Sawyer School for $30,000. The existing boilers at Flora and Sawyer School are now at the end of their useful life and need to be replaced. The cost to replace the boilers is approximately $110,000. The majority of the expense will be paid out for the Green Communities Designation Grant that our town planner was keen on obtaining. So we've already starting to get some benefits out of becoming a green community, so a significant portion of that will be paid by that grant. We need to keep the kids warm in the winter. The advisory committee has approved it 6-0 in favor. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve.
Question.
Yes.
My recollection is that the advisory committee and the town voted to allocate money to this several years ago. Did that get used for another purpose, or is
No.
this to supplement that?
It wasn't used.
And is it going to, so this is to supplement that?
No. That was a completely different project that the previous facilities director never saw through.
Well, what's happening to the other money then?
It's been returned back. The
All right,
articles
it's
have
already been
released.
returned? All right, thank you.
Yep. So again, I'll make a motion, take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the next couple of articles, 30, 31, and 32, 33, were articles that were added as a result of Tuesday night's advisory committee meeting. They are some repairs to some of the schools in town. We had the facilities director in to the advisory committee meeting on Tuesday to provide some additional detail that was requested. So-
Actually, Article 30 is not new.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry, jumping ahead. Article 30 is not new. 31 and 32. Article 30, getting a repair of the Emerson and Florence Sawyer School driveway for $14,000. So the driveway is displaying signs of moderate distress. If we repair it now, a much more costly repair option will be avoided. Advisory has approved in favor 6-0. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Who will oversee that? Will that be the town, or will it be the school district that applies? to that?
DPW.
We are our people.
Yes, our people. I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. All right, now come the new ones. Article 31, carpet replacement. The sum of 17, probably you should put that in the title.
Yes.
Sum of $17,200 to replace carpeting. This would be replacing carpeting in classrooms, the conference room, the break room, the library, and stairway, which are deteriorating. So, we're on the hook for anything over $10,000 in terms of capital improvements, the town is, as opposed to the district. I think it's needed. I have no problem, I have no questions. You have any questions?
I don't. I'll make a motion to approve Article 31.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 32 is interior painting, and again, we should put the sum in the thing. Painting at Florence School, let's see what they have to say. This will be for the main hallways and some of the classrooms at Florence School. Any questions?
How much was that, Stan?
It's $11,000.
Just over.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we could paint one less room.
I'll make the motion to approve Article 32.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 33, which is also new, is the repair and or replacement of lockers. This is also at the Florence School for the sum of $10,400. There's a series of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade lockers at Florence School that need repair or replacement. And any questions, gentlemen? No. I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Why is there some reason why Article 35 and 36 are after 34?
Yes, because they're contingent and may be passed over. so-
Ah, that's right, yes, okay, thank you for reminding me, thank you. Okay, Article 34 is a citizen's petition, the purchase of the town common.
Mr. Chairman, I should point out, and if you saw me caucusing with town council right before the meeting, first of all, I'd like to make clear, a citizen's petition cannot be changed, it needs to be taken literally. Not even punctuation can we change without the petitioners.
Right.
I think, when I read it, and I know I'm not alone, when I read it, I believed that wording was for a debt exclusion. And then I had second thoughts about that, and I checked with town council tonight, and that is not debt exclusion language. So it's borrowing, but it's not debt excluded. And I don't know that advisory is aware of that. If you are, I don't know of any, I don't know that this has been discussed at length, because I discussed it with the chair today, and he thought that there was a debt exclusion. So advisory does not unanimously know that it is not a debt exclusion. So I'm wondering if Tuesday night this should be taken up, so that the selectmen can discuss the impact of that. I mean, again, can't change a citizen's petition, but I don't know if advisory has fully considered the financial impact, the potential financial impact. And
Okay, so well, one of the ramifications would be if we wanted to change how this was being paid for, we would need to get petitioners to change the language.
well, we can't require the petitioners to do anything, but it could be amended on on town meeting floor. And so because of that, we have a ballot question in here in case it gets amended on town meeting floor. Because if we don't include a ballot question and it does get amended on town meeting floor, then there is no ballot and it's not going anywhere, because we haven't gone through the two-step process.
Right. Do we want to have the trust in Tuesday?
Well, that's up to advisory, I don't.
Well, it's a joint meeting, isn't it?
It is, that's true. We can certainly invite them in.
Do you think Brad would be amenable to that, Ken?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
If I may, where it was discussed was primarily with the treasurer and the accountant as to, from their perspective, whether or not a debt exclusion or a non-debt exclusion made sense. And the treasurer didn't think it was necessary, and the accountant didn't think it should be done that way. And nobody really expressed opinions on advisory, and nobody took any vote on it. And so Don is right, that it hasn't been decided upon.
Well, the treasurer and accountant both feel it should be debt excluded.
Okay.
All right, last week they did not, so okay, that's fine.
They did. Well, as the budget has evolved, spending has evolved.
All right,
But again, the town doesn't have any input into it before it goes on the warrant. It can stay exactly the way it is. But we have to plan for the impact of that.
I understand, but I mean, I think if the town would prefer it one way versus the other, I think, and this is not worded, whatever the eventual decision that we would like, the direction we want to go in, and the wording doesn't coincide, we should have the Conservation Trust in to see, if they're amenable. Because they may have just written this without regard.
Legally, to change a citizen's, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, to change a citizen's petition, you have to go back out and inform all the signatories that the petition has changed, because they may or may not have signed it knowing that it could change. We've done this before. So they would have two choices. They have three choices. They could do nothing and leave it the way it is, or maybe it is two choices, or they could go back out and inform the petitioners, or I suppose they could do a new citizen's petition, but, I can't emphasize enough, they're not required to do anything. But we can't just change a citizen's petition once it's been.
No, I'm not saying, okay, we can't change it.
No, but they can't change it either.
Well, they can, but it wouldn't show up on this warrant. But I think they need to understand the ramifications of what they've written. And I don't know, I don't think when they were going out and getting people to sign this thing, that there was any discussion of how it was gonna be paid for, other than the town was gonna pay for it. And I don't think anybody at that time who was signing this was either, yes, I want the town to buy this, go do it. But I'm sure that, no one gave any thought to, is it debt excluded or not, or how we do that.
The
So
easiest route may be to offer an amendment to their petition on town meeting floor to add the language that makes this a debt exclusion.
Right, but the thing is, we need to get them in there so they understand that, So I think we need to contact the trust, and they need to come in Tuesday.
If I may, Mr. Chair, right now, as drafted, it's two authorizations. One authorizes the selectmen to purchase the property if the selectmen decides that the board wants to, and two authorizes borrowing in order to fund it. It's not contingent upon a debt exclusion. So if it passes exactly as drafted right now, we have the authority to borrow the money. If there was a ballot question for a debt exclusion, we have the ability to borrow outside the cap. But the appropriation wouldn't be contingent upon the ballot question. When you add the contingency, if the ballot question fails, the appropriation is gone as well.
Right.
Or if time goes by, too much time goes by,
Right.
the appropriation fails. As it is now, it wouldn't fail for lack of a ballot question or for a failure of a ballot question.
Right.
But at some point in the future, right, you're right. I do know, based on the conversation I had today, that with the town accountant, or yesterday with the town accountant, that if there's, I believe, if this weren't debt excluded, that it would put us over our levy capacity if we were to go forward with everything else. Our levy limit, not our levy capacity.
Then we definitely, if they're able to, if that's, if we want to then exclude this, and they're the only ones that are able to make an amendment on town meeting floor, then we need to get it in.
Well, no, anyone can make an amendment on town meeting floor. It doesn't have to be the trust.
I understand, but we should have someone who knows what we're talking about make the change.
No, I totally agree, but I just didn't want people to think that only the trust could make an amendment on town meeting floor.
Oh, so even though it's a citizen's petition,
It can't be changed as far as the warrant goes. Once you get to town meeting,
anybody?
anybody can change, or make a proposal to amend any article.
All right, well, but I still think the trust should know what we're doing.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If it gets approved the way it is, and there's no debt exclusion, and we go over the levy limit, does that mean we need an override?
I would say we would. I don't know how we wouldn't.
And does something have to be put in the warrant as a contingent for that happening?
No, I don't think we can anticipate that. I think we need to have the process flow, and then when we have to deal with it when it arises.
All right, well, I still think we should get the trust in next Tuesday, and one of them should be prepared to make the change, and we should have an explanation as to why we're making the change. Because, you know, anytime you amend anything on town meeting floor, it's exciting. And I'm looking at you.
Will it be exciting at 10:30, 11?
Yeah, sure. All right, so yeah, how about we just kind of just walk away from this one right now? Slowly, back away slowly.
Step away from the petition.
Back away from the petition. All right. The next two, 35 and 36, were also new and added as a result of this past Tuesday's meeting. Both are similar. Article 35 is repair of Wilder Road culvert. And for those folks playing at home with the home game of the Selectmen's meeting, yes, we did appropriate and approve back at the annual town meeting last year to repair the Wilder Road culvert to the sum of $186,000. More than a year has gone by due to a variety of circumstances, but the work will most likely be done by the middle of this year. However, our DPW director is concerned that due to the delay in the cost estimates that were done for this, which were more than a year ago, as well as now the timing of when we're going out to bid, that there may be potential cost increases on this particular culvert. And if we do not have sufficient funds to complete the work, then we're not able to move forward with the culvert at all. So this article is sort of a stopgap. We are anticipating that the bids will be coming in advance of the annual town meeting.
April 24th.
April 24th. So at that time, when we go through the process and open up the bids, we'll see what the lowest bid is. And if we are at or below the dollar amount that we set aside at the last year's annual town meeting, then we're fine, and this article would be passed over, or we will amend this article to reflect whatever additional funds we may or may not need. So this is just sort of a belt and suspenders, make sure that we have enough dough for the culvert, but this article could be removed in its entirety if the bids come in, hopefully the way we want them to come in. So do I have a motion to approve this article?
Move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Articles, yes.
If the prior article on the town common puts us over the levy limit, does that have any repercussions to the validity of any articles, any spending articles subsequent to that?
That's for advisory, it's not for us.
No, my question is, if that puts us over the levy limit, does that affect our ability to implement the following?
If we don't have a balanced budget coming out of town meeting, I don't know I don't see how we can, I mean, it's gonna have a significant impact, but we will be out of balance. So we would either have to do some carving on town meeting floor.
So the order in which we spend the
No,
money
that has
doesn't matter?
no bearing on
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
Ken, you have a question? Or
I
comment?
just noticed on both of these articles, if you recall at the advisory meeting, the discussion that we had was about borrowing both of these, since the projects were being borrowed anyway, was, I believe at least, was to borrow the 60 in the one and the 70 in the other one. I may be wrong about that,
No,
but
that's-
that was my recollection
No, that is
from
right. That is
the
correct.
meeting, and what the advisory, I believe, voted was with the intent that those be borrowed.
Yeah, that was
Now,
unclear.
the articles have not been written, so.
Right, that was unclear, but we will add the word or borrow, or the phrase or borrow to both of those articles.
Okay, sure.
But that would partly affect the cash bottom line, depending on how
Mhm.
people are looking at the cash bottom line as well.
Now, were the original borrowing for those culverts, was that debt excluded?
No.
Okay, Article 36, same deal for the Berlin Road culvert, which was also approved last year. That culvert, I believe it was 286,000, or 268,000. 268,000. And Harold is recommending to put a fudge factor of about 70K on that one. And again, the bids will be coming in for that article, for that culvert as well on the 24th of April. And we'll either remove this article, or if we do have to encumber additional funds, we'll adjust the dollar figure appropriately. Do I have any questions, or can I take a recommendation to approve?
I'll move to approve Article 36.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Do we need to approve 37? I guess we
Yes,
do.
we should.
Okay, so Article 37, authorize the town election, which would be at the Neshoba Regional High School Auditorium in Bolton on Monday, May 8th, 2017, between the hours of noon and 8 p.m. to elect by ballot the following officers: 1 year the moderator and one moderator and one town clerk, 2 years, one member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, 3 years, one member of the Board of Selectmen, Board of Health, Board of Assessors, Cemetery Committee, Library Trustee, 2 members of the Parks and Recreation Commission, and 1 member of the Planning Board. And for 5 years, it would be 1 member of the Housing Authority and 1 member of the Planning Board. I have a motion to approve.
Move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, so I think we're done with that. Anything else we need to do with, we don't need to deal with the ballot questions or anything?
No.
Okay, cool. Alright, so that takes care of the, holy mackerel. There's like 2 more things to go. Next up is the town administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There actually is no update on Minuteman, it was just there for nostalgic.
Oh my God.
Nostalgic purposes. We're gonna pass right on that one tonight.
Wow.
I would like to
That's
give
the only
you,
reason I keep
that those ratings have gone up. Update on contract with Whitewater for repair of wastewater treatment plant. That's sort of done the reveal there. We did go out to bid. Whitewater is the winning bid. In fact, they were the only bid. And they came in at $69,200, and we had allocated $86,000, so we came in under plan on that. And I would like to, this is just a brief infomercial for folks, but I had neglected to write down on my notes here what the actual dollar amount was of the bid. So I pulled out my iPhone and went to the homepage of our our town webpage, and under bids and so forth, I referenced it, we do have it up, so I could reference it that quite easily and confirm the amount. So I'd just like to remind people that we do have that up on the home page,
Okay.
and that's an ongoing practice. And the only other thing I had, I saw this today, as we discussed earlier, you know, we got our designation as a green community. What I'm really excited about is the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources asked us to please join DOER Commissioner Judith Judson to recognize Bolton's designation as a green community, and the award ceremony, there'll be other towns coming as well, but the award ceremony will be here in the Houghton Building, 697 Main Street at 10 a.m. Thursday, March 30th. And I think the folks at DOER were impressed with what we put forward and asked if we would host the award ceremony. So I think that was a really cool thing, and I wanted to make sure I shared it with everyone. So next Thursday at 10 a.m. here. And that is all I have under my report this evening.
Thank you.
Unless there are any questions.
Thank you. All right. All right, we're in the final stretch. Board of Selectmen business. Review and finalize the Board of Selectmen statement of the annual town meeting warrant. I kept it fairly generic because the warrant was in flux. There is one, I don't know whether we even want to include it. Last year we had a statement, the non-educational budget growth was limited to an increase of 0.8%. I don't know what that is. We need to get confirmation from advisory, it doesn't go in there, but I don't know what that is. If we don't know, we can always just take that out. But I think, you know, with all this stuff floating around, I'm not sure we know what that number is at the moment. But otherwise, I've kept it at a very high level. Just because we just don't have any particulars yet, so. Do you think we'll have a number for what the non-educational budget growth is?
By Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could certainly, I think.
We can fill that in.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I think that's important for the townspeople to know. So we can wait on that, but is there any questions with the rest of it?
No.
Okay, so shall we make a motion to approve with the condition that we will fill in what that percentage is at the time that we know what it is, hopefully before it goes to print?
I'll move that.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. We have some appointments. We have Laura Roberts to the Human Services and Safety Committee. I'm assuming the position was posted?
Yes.
And advertised, all that good stuff. I see we have a letter recommending her. If there are any questions or no questions or objections, I'll take a motion to approve Laura Roberts to the Human Services and Safety Committee.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And then also, we have another one, Stacy, is it Haponic? Haponic, is that you?
Yep.
Come on down.
Sat through the entire meeting.
You've been waiting all this
I
time?
know.
Watch.
Marketing.
It's been great, thanks, bye. Please sit down. Stan Wysocki, thank you.
Very nice to meet you.
No, thank you very much for volunteering. We greatly appreciate it. And we appreciate you sitting through
Keeping us company.
almost 3 hours of this. So we do appreciate you coming. So I'm assuming that the position is all that good stuff. And, I'm sure Martha's excited to get some new
We're
folks.
very happy that Stacy has chosen
Good.
to select the Historical Commission. It's been a long haul, right, Linda?
Yeah, 4 years.
Oh, that's right, yeah, you've been searching far and wide, so yes, we greatly appreciate that, so, no, thank you very much. So we're looking forward to good things, so thank you for,
Coming forward.
coming forward and volunteering. And now that we have you, we will never let you
Let
go.
you go, right?
Even if you move.
Even if you move, so go into the next room to be processed, you're gonna get the location chip put in and be all set.
And of course, it's the town census that spurs the interest in these
Yes,
volunteer appointments, so
yeah.
if we didn't have the town census, we'd probably have Stacy.
Great, no, thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Do you have to make a motion or vote? Or-
Yes, we should make a motion to approve Stacy.
I'll make a motion to approve Stacy Aponic to the Historical Commission.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's official. All right, and I don't know if we have any minutes?
We do not.
Okay. So,
Don't forget it now, as soon as all this.
yeah, if there's no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Good night, everybody.
We're not disappointed in the executive session.
Yeah.